Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on a Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing, nutters, messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Welcome, everyone, to the 499, because damn we fine, edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, be that Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher. Catch us on YouTube because the value of the week, that's some good visual material for you folks. Joining me today, Steve Wellings, Ozzie Smith, Andy Patterson. Well, the country of Mexico is not rejoicing today. I might be one of the saddest people outside of Mexico, with Dmitry Bivol taking unanimous decision over Gilberto Ramirez over 12 rounds, with an incredible control of distance. And Steve, there was some point in the fight where I was talking to myself and the money that I had laid down on Ramirez and the thoughts that I had going into the fight. And I was kind of thrown back to the days when I wasn't all behind Floyd Mayweather. And I always thought, there's got to be a way someone can pull it off. But he, always hit hard enough, always did enough to keep people off of him, always outpointed him. And Dmitry Bivol, not fighting behind a roll, hands high, controlling distance. It's that same thing, Steve. Like, you see all these reasons someone should be able to beat Dmitry Bivol, but they don't even come close. I mean, he was absolutely brilliant in how he controlled range against a 6'3" monster.
Well, it's funny, though, you should mention that, actually. Something that just came to my mind, as you said, I've mentioned this on the pod before, but I might as well mention it again because I'm quite a repetitive character. But I remember talking to Kevin Johnson back in the day about fighting Vitaly Klitschko, and he mentioned to me about how difficult it was to hit Klitschko. You looked at him, you thought he was a robot on film, very stiff, very one-dimensional. And there he was leaning back out of range all the time. He couldn't get hold of him. He was hitting you with shots and away he went. I'm kind of comparing Vitaly Klitschko with Dmitry Bivol a little bit here from the same kind of Eastern European schooling. But he's just so difficult to get hold of, isn't he, Bivol? I thought it was a great performance from him. He was superb from first bell until last. We mentioned Fighter of the Year last week. He's a lock for Fighter of the Year for me. And one thing I was wrong about, Matty, as I often am last week, I thought that Ramirez would have the size and the power to not beat Bivol, but at least cause him some issues. But he was outboxed, he was outpunched, and he just never really felt in the fight. He was just way too passive overall because he was befuddled. He didn't know what to do. He was incapable of executing just what he needed to do, even though the corner seemed to be giving him the right advice. And picking Gilberto Ramirez to give Bivol a fight was kind of a diversion for me as well, because throughout long spells of his career, listeners of this pod, me and Andy have had this conversation as well, will know that we've been very critical of Ramirez. I thought he was a strong, active guy, but very limited. He went through the Max Bursak fight, Arthur Abrams fight. He never really set the world on fire. He had those 2 wars with Jesse Hart. They told us exactly what we needed to know about him. And HBO, ESPN was sort of lauding him for his mediocrity. But here he is again. DAZN seemed to have this fighter reborn. He was knocking people out all of a sudden. He was hunting the head, he was hunting the body against the likes of Unieski Gonzalez. It seems now it was all smoke and mirrors, because as soon as he stepped up, it just showed that Ramirez has not progressed, but rather the opposition that he's had recently on DAZN has been made to order. So I suppose props to the matchmaker for a bit of sleight of hand there, but I'm not sure if they referenced it on the broadcast, but when I saw Bivol in the first round, I thought he had a slightly bruised left eye. Maybe from sparring didn't become a factor. He's just so technical, well-schooled, waiting for Ramirez to overcommit. Ramirez was like leaning down over the knee and his head was going down, and Bivol was like, thanks very much, I'll just explode with these fast-handed 1-2s.
Well,
and
he was trying to find the opening. He kept going up top, couldn't find anything, so he'd go
Yeah,
down for the body,
swinging
and then
downstairs,
then he'd take 3 or 4 punches for his troubles. He just, everything he tried, Ramirez or Bivol, just, he had an answer for it.
Yeah, he was slow though, I thought, when he leant over that foot, and Bivol, he started at a much faster pace as well, because I think Bivol believed that Ramirez would struggle down the stretch, so he's making him work at this high tempo. And the commentary team were calling for all the right things from Ramirez, I thought. Body work, back him up. But it's easier said than done. There's a reason why he couldn't do those things. And Bivol's hand speed and accuracy were the two main things for me. Bivol, he's just a thinking fighter. He makes these little moves. He tries shots. He was just seeing how Ramirez was reacting to things. And even during points of success, Bivol never got greedy. He never overcommitted. He never let his hands go fully while he was forcing the attacks. What I mean by that, Matty, was he only ever flurried and committed off the back of Ramirez making a mistake. That was when he let his hands go. Whenever Ramirez let himself open, overreached, overcommitted, that was when Bivol let his hands go. Very, very clever fighter.
Yep.
And even
single
when Bivol,
shot leads, combination counters. It was clever.
Yeah, it was very clever. And just finally, I was going to say, even when Ramirez did back him up to the ropes, Bivol put the hands up, he slipped. Ramirez was throwing shots. I felt like there were arm punches. That right hand, that right hook to the body, looked like it had nothing behind it, because the only person who thought that Ramirez was having success, bless him, was that deluded corner man. He was imploring him to reach for immortality. That's a quality addition, by the way, to the motivational corner playbook. But Ramirez looked like he was throwing arm punches because, Matty, he was afraid of what was coming back.
Yeah, he definitely didn't work to the body as much as I thought he should have. And if he would have invested earlier, maybe he would have had more of a chance later. Unfortunately, it seemed like the middle rounds he started trying to do that. And Stephen, you dismissed Ramirez and his opposition stuff, but I hesitate to do that because he does have a strong amateur background. Seen a lot of good things from this fighter in the way that he manages himself in a ring. And, I think when you dismiss him, you're underrating this win by Bivol. And I don't want to do that. I think this is a really good win by Dmitry Bivol. Probably it's got to be in the top 2 or 3 of his career. I mean, he doesn't have in the pros the greatest depth of resume either. And that just could be because he's avoided. Now, Andy, the question really is for me coming out of this, the one fight that we need to see now is Bivol versus Beterbiev. That's the most interesting, one of the most interesting fights in boxing by far. The yard fight is at least in the middle of that. But I mean, God, I even have questions about that fight now after seeing Bivol last night. What are you thinking, Andy?
Well, it's a fight obviously everybody wants to see. So that being the case, being long-suffering boxing fans will probably never get to see it. Knowing our luck. But just before we do get to that, actually, I just wanted to point out a couple of things that Steve was saying, obviously, and that as well about the fight there last night, was just about the nonsense corner. There was moments in that fight, I think it was about the 8th or the 9th, the corner were telling him, come out with some pish, that you've got to go for it. And then the reaction for Ramirez was just like, dude, I can't do it. He had no belief in him at that point. And I think he actually knew it as well, so he just absolutely no belief when the corner was telling him that. Bivol was far the better man. Thought he started banging the mood, looked aggressive. You could probably have those first 5 rounds, probably 3-2. I wouldn't argue if you had it 4-1, but I just felt some of the quality shot, especially the right hands from Bivol, were more telling, and that's the reason why he was winning the rounds for me. He was just landing the far quality shots. Maybe Zurdo came into it a little bit in round 3 possibly, but the impetus, in my opinion, was all with Bivol. The right hand, I just don't think he could miss with it. I keep saying that, I've mentioned it before numerous times. When you master the basics, it's unbelievable as to how much you can get done over it, because I think Ramirez was definitely cagey about committing. Certainly Bivol either got his attention with some of the shots, or he just wasn't liking what he was seeing, because every time he attacked, Bivol had an answer for him. Even though if he got his shots home, there was an answer to be had from Bivol. I think
you're right. It's funny, Andy, because like he keeps you see so much body available with the way he keeps his high guard, the positioning of his elbows, but every time that you go down to his body thinking you're going to get that, he finds a way to touch you with the opposite hand. It's very clever.
Yeah, there was times, like you mentioned about the combinations, there was times you were counting 5, 6, 7 punches he was throwing, really putting an exclamation mark on some of his work. As I said, about the mid rounds, I felt that was when Bivol started to take complete control of the fight. I think mentally, possibly Ramirez maybe quitting himself a little bit. The pressure that Bivol was putting on him, it was surprising to me as well that having such a big guy in front of him, he was actually maintaining it in command and centre ring, pushing him back as well. He was far quicker, far sharper, and the shots that he was landing were just far, far better quality. He was just far too wary, Ramirez, in my opinion. So really, Ramirez just never switched it up. And when the corners tried to tell him something, whether you actually listened to his corner, whether he was telling him what was right or what was wrong, doesn't matter. He had no belief in what they were telling him. And I just think, that was the end of the matter. Just the shots for Bivol, just what he's got to do, the selection was more varied than what Ramirez was able to put out there. And I'm not going to mention about the weight, for example, but he was just slow compared to Bivol. So in terms of moving forward, absolutely we want to see the Beterbiev fight. Obviously, you mentioned the Yard fight as well. We just got to hope Beterbiev wins and doesn't pick up any injuries. But again, mate, I just hope we can get the networks to try and get something done, because I've got no faith in maybe Eddie trying to get this fight together. I think Bob would rather fuck him over than try and get this fight put on. So yeah, hopefully it happens. I just don't see it though, considering our luck.
And before we throw Ramirez out in the cold, I'm kind of thinking about it. I guess I'm kind of curious to see him move up a weight. I mean, he's already coming into the ring massive. In a fight that just kind of touches me as interesting would be him against Sergey Kovalev, who looked decent enough against Tervel Pulev at cruiserweight. So that's a curiosity to me. But David Palmer throwing in $8.99 says, lads, thanks for the show as ever. Thought Ramirez got gun shy as he got pieced away every time he threw. I think you're about to come to it, but Bivol and Beterbiev, does it happen and who wins? Oz, why don't you give us your thoughts, and then why don't you tail end that with how you think Bivol and Beterbiev goes down, and we'll round table that.
Yeah, there's not really much else to add from what everybody else has said, to be honest. I agree. I thought Ramirez looked gun shy on the basis that he simply was wary about what was coming back. They kept saying, on commentary, or as soon as Bivol started letting his shots go, this is exactly what Zerdo wants. He wants to make it a fight. Well, he never really showed it, because in the times where he had the chance to exchange, he just didn't. I think I gave him 2 or 3 rounds at best. And they were very early on. I think he had one, possibly mid to late in the fight, but that was it. I saw some people scoring it a shutout. I think that is a touch harsh, but I thought Bivol was absolutely outstanding. It was easy.
From six on, it was basically Bivol's fight, maybe Sands around.
The
first 4 rounds, it was kind of curious and like, this could kind of go either way, but and then the class golf just showed after that.
Exactly that. And I think as soon as Bivol kind of worked out what Ramirez was going to do, it was pretty easy for him, to be honest. And Andy said it right. I think he does the basics. He's mastered the basics extremely well, and that will ultimately, get you all the way and more. Ramirez was disappointing, I think is the best way to describe it. But ultimately, he was beaten by a fighter who was just a level above. He didn't know how to use his superior size to any sort of advantage. He was slower, which was understandable. It's quite amusing, actually, that you've seen Ramirez and Callum Smith, who've both operated at 168, and then you've got Bivol, who's a career 175, and he's tiny compared to the pair of them. But it just shows that ultimately weight doesn't mean everything. In terms of moving on to the Bivol Beterbiev fight, incredibly close. I'm not going to say last night, changed anything massively. I thought Bivol was excellent. I thought Ramirez would have made it a lot closer, but I think we've all seen, Bivol's qualities, and the more essentially, the bigger the test, the bigger the performance from what he's produced. I don't really read a lot into that Craig Richards fight, by the way. I think, he was coming off a long layoff, and ultimately, I think it was more just. Not say it seems harsh on Richards, but we've seen it before. Somebody performs better than expected, and I think it was just a below par performance from Bivol that night.
Those cards were very friendly to Richards too, Oz.
I also believe that I think if they were to box again, I don't think Richards would win a round in that fight. But onto Beterbiev, Bivol incredibly close. I do think I'd side with Beterbiev, but again, I think it'd be very close. I think the big difference is that Beterbiev wouldn't be, gun shy about being countered or what's coming back. He's much better than, just a one-punch knockout artist. He has been hurt before. I'm not sure if Bivol has got the power to do that. And I'd love to see Bivol really, to see the chin tested if Beterbiev was to land one of his, his huge right hands, which ultimately he's banged everybody out in every fight. But it's incredibly close, and it's probably one of those from where you'll to and fro. I really hope it happens. Look, financially, I get why they might line up that Canelo rematch next. Canelo doesn't stand a chance of beating Bivol. Absolutely no chance. If I'm Alvarez, I look at that and just think, actually, I ain't going to beat him.
Canelo's
I know we won't
out for a
think
year
like
though,
that.
so that will happen next, mate.
And Canelo, he's got to be smart. He's really risking his star power, taking another L in that one.
I want to see Bivol stop him for the lols.
Yeah, but he's out for a year anyway, so we're not going to see him
Well,
anytime.
actually, where has that been revealed? I haven't seen that anywhere. That Canelo.
He's had an operation on his wrist, mate. Apparently, someone released a video. It was after the
Right.
the fight.
So when you said that, I couldn't find that anywhere. I couldn't see it, any sort of information. So I wasn't sure if it was true or if it was just hearsay. It's a completely different point, but I actually think then, you might well see, champion in recess type of stuff, down at 168. But if anything, that's probably for the better. If Canelo does have this injury and he's out for 12 months, which, again, it needs to be confirmed, Beterbiev's boxing in January against Anthony Hard, realistically, it should be an easy night's work for Beterbiev. And then, you're coming on to Bivol won't need a fight in between. Beterbiev, provided he doesn't get injured, will be absolutely fine. So, fingers crossed that can be made, what we're talking, May time, May. I think that's, a fair assessment. And what a fight that would be. There's absolutely nothing stopping from that happening. So fingers crossed that can be made. But really close overall. But I would side with Beterbiev at the moment.
I guess the question comes down to, can he walk down Bivol? Can he slow down Bivol? And take him out late. Steve, if Beterbiev wins that one, it's probably gonna look fairly close to the Vosdik fight. Hopefully not in the way that violently ended necessarily, but because Vosdik just been to the ring since, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you mentioned that because David Palmer put it in the chat as well, and a lot of people were saying about Gvozdyk outboxing him and that. I thought Beterbiev actually showed his boxing side that fight. It was often described as a boxer versus puncher kind thing, but Beterbiev showed that he can box as well, which is why I give him the edge. He's not this banger and brawler. He hunts you down, but he's clever too. He sets little traps. He's a good boxer. He has distance and footwork at the time. Whenever he doesn't respect people or respect their power, he tends to get caught. But against Gvozdyk, he was switched on, and I thought after about rounds 5 or 6, he just laid on a beating, all behind the jab as well, which is why I give him the benefit of the doubt, and I would side with Beterbiev. But I'm going to be completely honest with you. I go from one to the other. Whenever I see Beterbiev beating someone up, I'm like, yeah, you definitely beat Bivol. And then I see Bivol, and I'm like, nah, I think Bivol might actually win. So I'm not unashamedly go between the two of them, depending on what have you done for me lately. So after last night, you'd be forgiven for saying I would favour Bivol in that fight, and I wouldn't hold it against anybody who would say that. So I thought he looked superb, and all of a sudden you can see him maybe outboxing Beterbiev, maybe Beterbiev getting discouraged and Bivol getting the win. That's why it's such an intriguing fight. I agree with Josh Ford as well in the chat. Shouldn't be difficult to make. Both of them have showed throughout their career they're willing to fight anybody. And Michael Thompson's comment as well there. Exactly. I think Bivol fights to the level of his opposition. He has been boring against certain people, very safety first, doesn't take risks, but also that stood him in good stead on his best nights. Canelo last night against Ramirez, and he's coming out party against Sullivan Barrera, which I thought, wow, this guy's going to be absolutely class. And then he did bore the pants off us from time to time after that. But whenever the shit reel goes down and he's in against the top guys, so far he's delivered. And I think he has other gears as well. This might sound stupid. See, last night and against Canelo as well, he felt like a guy who has more gears. He feels like a guy who's very, very fit. You know, there's a lot of lung capacity there. He
could have gone 15. He could have gone 15 at that
But
pace.
I think if someone really puts it on him, and he's tough too. I always go back to the Benavidez. Whenever Bivol was about to fight Canelo, Benavidez said he's quite basic in his approach, 1-2, 1-2, but he can punch a little bit, and he's very good at what he does, and he's a hard man. You know, you stick it on him in sparring. David Benavidez said this on one of those fight type videos, I think it was. He will fight. He does bite down on his gum shield. So I think he's got that grit in him as well. He's not going to fold under pressure. You're going to have to smash seven shades of shit out of him, which Beterbiev might do to get rid of him. I think Bivol will stand and trade. He's not a pussy. He's a hard man.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if Archer can make him actually do that. I guess that's curiosity, and that's why it's such a great fight. You know, hopefully we're blessed with that one. Andy, do you have any kind of closing thoughts on how you think that fight might go?
Beterbiev against Bivol.
Jaw.
I kind of side with Oz. I think Beterbiev, another one who throws straight shots, similar to Bivol, just. If they can just hurt him, maybe a jab to the body, straight right hand, maybe beat him down. But you might have the issue trying to kind of maybe pin Bivol down. You might have a need to see but reach, that type of thing. But it's very intriguing actually, and it's one that I would not be surprised to see Bivol win it. To be fair, as Steve says as well, he seems to have left his best performances for like the bigger occasion fights, and the last two have been pretty exceptional. To be fair. So yeah, I'm kind of siding with Beterbiev just now, but as I say, I could be swayed definitely over the coming months, and certainly if we do get it made, I might just side with Bivol in the end actually, because I was thinking about Ramirez last week, and in the end I decided to go with Bivol, I think, for the prediction league possibly. So yeah, I'm glad I maybe changed my mind there the last second.
No, you did. You had a very good week, Andy. We'll get to that. But it was. Yeah, it was. I was surprised at how little Ramirez had to offer. I thought maybe you could get as close maybe to 116, 112, but that was as generous as you could get to Ramirez. Here's one for you. Who do you guys think did better against Bivol between and you know, judges' scorecards notwithstanding, between Canelo and Ramirez?
Ramirez.
I do too. It's just like, do you guys remember like that moment? I think it was like maybe the 10th or 11th round when Canelo really leaned in and he landed like 3 or 4 consecutive hooks to the body on Bivol, and he just like stood there and shrugged about it, like
laughed at him.
Yeah, and he wasn't able to do that against Ramirez. When Ramirez would touch him down to the body, he would step back.
See, I tell you what I meant to mention actually right at the start when we're just talking about the fight itself. Did anybody notice in the 5th round that Bivol actually didn't hurt him, but he certainly rocked Ramirez a little bit.
I think a couple times.
The legs,
disorganised him. I thought, Andy.
The body certainly did a wee funny move.
I think maybe once in the 5th and once in like the 10th or the 11th.
That was because of the speed. I think it was the old shot you don't see coming effect.
Yeah, visible movement. You could see it visibly affecting him. But I think I'm saying Ramirez based on, I think, certainly for the first 4 or 5 rounds, it was competitive as such. Even though I felt that maybe Bivol was maybe leaving, a bit more signature on his shots, but Ramirez, I think, was doing slightly better. Maybe a late rally in one of the late rounds, possibly. But I think in the end, both of them, Canelo and Ramirez, I think to a degree mentally quit on themselves, actually, I think, against Bivol. But I'm just basing it purely on the kind of early half of that fight. Because I think he absolutely dominated Canelo. And as I said, it was close to the absolute domination there last night, actually, as well.
Ramirez just kind of looked like he was out of ideas. And to me, like, Canelo looked like...
Canelo as well, yeah.
Canelo looked like he was trying to fend off the very large prison rapist.
No, I think Canelo mentally quit. I've said this before in the last 3 or 4 rounds because he didn't sell out for the knockout because he knew if he was going to go for it, his gas tank was diminished and Bivol would have stopped him. I believe he mentally quit and he went for points and thought, I'll chance it that the judges will give me this on points. I honestly do believe that. I don't think either of them covered themselves in glory, Ramirez or Canelo, which is testament to Bivol's skill, considering both of them went in. I went in with relatively high hopes for both of them, and he's made a mug out of both Canelo and Ramirez.
I need to remember as well, actually, that the 3 of those judges found that 115, 113 across the board for Bivol.
Yeah,
far too close. Absolute scandalous, man. Scandalous.
Yeah, that was a weird one. But anyways, Bivol, you got to be thinking, this is a top 3 pound for pound guy, wherever you have him on your list. I don't know. But definitely one of the most talented fighters in the sport. Hopefully we get that fight with Beterbiev because that's probably one of the 5 best fights that you can make. We're all excited about that. A fight that we were excited about, and we can argue. We were talking about this earlier, and we'll argue it out here. Actually, the last half of the fight made it slightly interesting, but the first half of the fight, Jessica McCaskill just did not look right. Something was very, very weird. Probably dropping the first 6 rounds to Chantel Cameron before she had any semblance of legs about her, and then she did all right, but. I'm going to go to Oz first because he wasn't the one that was just like throwing it in that she was trash. Oz, we were kind of chatting about the lines and stuff about this was going on, and then watching the fight. It was weird, and we've seen enough of Jessica McCaskill's fights to know how she usually works, as that pressure fighter. It doesn't always look good, but it comes together. But her hands and her feet were not working together. It was very odd. There was mention of a headbutt. I don't know, but it looked really weird.
I've said it a few times that basically in the last 24 hours or so that I've seen blokes at the boozer judge distance better than she did last night. She was just all up. It was such a bizarre performance from her, and we've seen her before from where for me, I thought she gave Katie Taylor one of her toughest fights without a doubt. She has got an aggressive style, she makes it, a bit untidy, but it was really, really odd, a performance last night. She just didn't look at the races whatsoever. Just like winging in these weird overhand rights. It was just a bizarre performance. And I want to say I thought Chantel Cameron was very good, but I didn't think she needed to do anything spectacular to make McCaskill look like that. It was odd, and it was like after the 6, she finally, Cameron did slow down a little bit, and McCaskill did start to take a couple of rounds, but I was surprised at a couple of the closer cards. I didn't really think McCaskill was in the fight whatsoever, but I would say it was a poor fight. I thought it would be a lot better than that. And the fact that, you're going to say that McCaskill was undisputed at 147, well, she looked shocking. She looked absolutely awful. And an embarrassment, really, to say that she was undisputed. This wasn't, like she was coming up, against like a Clarissa Shields and was just completely outclassed. Cameron's good. But, she's shown, Mary McGee gave Chantel Cameron a better fight than McCaskill did. I don't know if, I did mention about she's operated above 140. Was it an issue coming back down? I don't know. I thought it was bizarre that Cameron called McCaskill out again after the fight and said, we'll go up to 147 and she'll take those belts. I don't think anybody wants to see this sort of fight again, to be honest. I'd love to see Cameron box Katie Taylor next year. I think that'd be a really, really good fight and one that draws interest. I don't think Taylor will want anything to do with Cameron and her team, to be honest. But yeah, I thought the fight, was disappointing. It's no fault of the promoter that, sometimes it just good fights on paper don't always produce in the ring. And this was one of them. And it was largely down to the performance of McCaskill, really. I'd happily not see her box again after last night, really. She just looked garbage. I've no idea what was wrong with her, but if she's made to look like that repeatedly, she's no place at world level whatsoever.
But, she hasn't been made to look like that repeatedly, and that's not what she normally looks like. Against, Taylor, she didn't even look like that. That's why
what I mean. This is the odd thing, yeah. But it's like she was very lax and, in a nutshell, couldn't be bothered. If anything, she just took a really bizarre approach to everything. Did she just expect to walk through Cameron? I don't know. But yeah, I just thought it was a terrible, terrible performance, to be honest. And it seems harsh on Cameron that we're not giving her all the credit because she did box well. But I think that you'll remember the fight through McCaskill's bizarre display, not the good work of Cameron, which is a shame. But ultimately, it's true.
And so you guys just think that McCaskill is trash and there was nothing wrong with her?
I thought she was trash, mate.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just chime in there then. As we were saying it just before the start of the show, I thought McCaskill, like she was drunk, the way with that, that balance, the foot movement. I thought Cameron was beating her to the punch. As Ozzy says, maybe it could be an issue with the weight. She's also up in age now as well. People mentioned the Cecilia Brackhouse wins, but I think personally that's a combination of Brackhouse being aged and she was getting a bit tight at the weight as well. That said, I think maybe McCaskill's time has been and gone. I think maybe the standard of women's boxing is just quickly kind of like maybe going to grow beyond her possibly, because I rate Cameron quite highly and she did pretty well, I think. So she's one of the best boxers, I think, anyway, in the women's scene. It just could be the fact is that I think McCaskill is now that great, and it could put, as I say, mention the age again possibly. But she came into it a little bit, down the stretch. Cameron was forced to get a wee bit defensive in the final minute. I think it was at the 9th or 10th. I think it was. But other than that, mate, I personally think that Cameron won the fight anyway, definitely. But I was not impressed with McCaskill one bit.
Yeah, it is what it is. I thought there was a noticeable difference in her balance come about the 7th round. So that's why I lean into something was wrong, be it from a head clash or otherwise early. There was definitely something wrong. I don't know if she was concussed. The announce crew was mentioning it too. I don't know. I've seen enough Jessica McCaskill to know that was off. But anyways, and what was a very interesting fight, Shakov Rakimov getting off Shavkat. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Shavkat Rock. God, Jesus, it's weird when people's names rhyme, right? You think it's like, God, that's
just
not
call
it.
him Shotgun.
Yeah, getting off the floor in round 3 and getting pestered with uppercuts the entire way before taking out Zelfa Barrett, who just fell apart in the 9th round. That was another kind of bizarre incident on this card. Barrett seemed to be doing well. I mean, he was obviously losing some rounds in there, but had dropped Rakimov early. Again, those uppercuts were doing well. He looked all right. And then Steve, he just fucking fell apart. I don't know what the hell happened. His legs were messed, and it's another maybe mystery off of that card.
I know. He was like one of the refugees from the Wizard of Oz, where he was like the Tin Man or the Straw Man or one of them. Something just fell apart on him, Matty, there. I'm not really sure what happened to Barrett, but I think the story of the fight went with him. I was watching it with the sound off, so I don't know what the explanation was, but it looked to me like someone whose knee had gone or ankle had gone. It was almost his knee, the way his body fell to one side. So if people are saying that there was no injury, I would be very surprised about that. But as I said, I thought he won the story of the fight. Rakimov's the guy who's fought at a much higher level. Barrett's had a lot of wars at British level. I've never rated him, but I thought he was excellent. I will go that far on Saturday night. I think he had the tactics right. He was moving. If he had a bit more of a dig, he could have really hurt Rakimov. He was having a lot of success with the uppercut. They'd obviously done their homework. Rakimov was leaning down right into that uppercut time and time again. And this is a guy who'd gone to a draw with Diaz, and he'd had the fight with Fusile, which me and Andy mentioned, which was a bit suspect. I thought Rakimov looked quite basic, one-dimensional, trying to hunt him down in straight lines. Eventually, he caught up with him, given his greater experience, his fitness, and his power. But if, like I said, if Barrett had had more experience at this level and a bit more of a dig, and his knee hadn't given out on him or whatever happened, I think that he was going to go the distance and give Rakimov a right good argument. So Warzel for Barrett for me. I think Rakimov's going to have to definitely improve if he's going to upset the upper echelons of the division based on that performance. I thought he looked quite poor, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, and Andy, it looks like he's going to be going against Joe Cordina next. That fight is already signed. How do you see it going?
I think Cordina maybe wins out on points, mate. Just need to wait and see how that one plays out, to be fair. I was not impressed with Rakimov early doors, so that's what I think that Cordina could probably outbox him. What can you say? It was just odd. It was strange, really. I mean, Barrett was absolutely fantastic. Very, very good in the opening round, especially in that opening round. He was boxing well, getting some really good shots off. The uppercut, he just could not miss with it. Obviously, he got the knockdown off that uppercut. You know, just looked like Rakimov was just looking to kind of step in, just try and land something solid, something heavy. I think he got buzzed. I think it was about the third round as well. I just like Rakimov wasn't targeting the body. It was more like head hunting stuff. And then, what can I say? I personally thought it was an injury of some sort, maybe the back or the hip. I think maybe Ben or Ozzy mentioned about a shot at the top of the head, maybe threw his equilibrium off.
So when a man looks all fucked up, you give him every excuse in the book, but when a woman looks all fucked up, you just think she sucks.
Touche.
I see how this goes.
Touche.
No, I see how it goes.
Mate, she was off the pace for the start of the fight.
Andy, you're a very sexist people. That's why you have to get women from other countries to marry you.
You're absolute whole. At least Barrett was actually winning the fight. So, yeah, just the way he fell apart is just unfortunate. I mean, obviously we need to get some sort of explanation as to what's happened. I've not heard anything. Somebody was reporting that they'd heard ringside or maybe asked a question of Barrett's corner that they claimed it wasn't an injury. So what is it? Is it the weight? Is he just training to make weight? Is he just left it all in the gym? Who knows? But to have him go that far, actually, was it 9 rounds, looking fantastic. But then I think it was at the 6th, 7th onwards, it did look like he was starting to kind of, gas. The output wasn't the same. Yeah, it's just weird, absolutely weird. So Rakimov gets himself back in the mix and that, but as I say, he was definitely kind of, if Barrett was able to kind of keep that going, I was fancying him strongly to see that out. Just really, really weird.
This is the thing as well, Andy, why fights last 12 rounds. One of the stupidest things I often hear on different podcasts, not really on here so much, is people saying, oh, so-and-so looked trash for so many rounds. Like Gervonta Davis was getting his head boxed off by Rolly Romero for 4 rounds. Yeah, that's why a fight's fucking 12 rounds. 1 round later, he absolutely annihilated him. That's what makes difference between the champions, the punchers and whatnot. Yeah,
and maybe you see Jason McCaskill fight 12-3s, mate, rather than 10-2s, eh?
No, I don't want to see any more of that.
Nah, exactly, mate. Exactly. She's trash.
You're a terrible human being. Terrible human being. If I ever make it over there, I'm going to steal that bottle of whiskey from you were talking about and have you fucking chase me down the streets.
Add an S onto that, mate.
I think I might be able to beat you in a foot race. I'm not. I live around 5,000 feet in altitude. I think I'd give me a fighting chance to outrun
all those years on the bong, though, Matty, aren't going to help your cause.
I was thinking about that in the back of my head as I was saying that, Steve. Like, I hack up all sorts of stuff during the course of a day. So God
you might as well have been living at the bottom of the ocean.
God, yeah, that's very true. Wasn't there a show where the Snorks? You remember that show, the Snorks, with all them little fuckers under the ocean? Anyhow, I didn't watch a whole lot of the undercard other than that. Oz, why don't you give me your thoughts on the Yafai brothers and how they looked? A couple of close fights, one of them hitting the canvas.
Yeah, I didn't think either looked particularly good, to be honest. Start with Kal Yafai, who, I think it had 3 years out of the ring or something like that. Really struggled against, I think he was a Filipino. I'm just going to have a look at his record now, but ultimately, I know he's had 3 years out the ring. For me, shouldn't be struggling with somebody like that. And if, you can't just go back and say, oh, yeah, well, he he's had 3 years out of the ring. Well, ultimately, if that's the case, then lower the level of opponent, just give him a couple of tickovers and then build up, rather than, you know, saying, oh, yeah, it was a tough test, etc., things like that. So he just looked wide open to an overhand right. That's what dropped him. Didn't see it coming. And it's one of them that he took a bit of a beating throughout the whole fight, to be honest. I thought it was probably right that he pinched it, but I thought it was incredibly close. Probably a couple of rounds tops, that sort of stuff. But yeah, I get, you know, what he needs to do now is get out again. You know, be active. He can't now afford 6 to 8 months on the sideline and then come back again. He needs, you know, a fight, you know, early next year, and then another one 2-3 months later. Get active and then see where you're at. You know, because he's had a long time out the ring since that Gonzalez fight. So yeah, we'll wait and see. As for Galalia fight, I think they need to put the brakes on with him. You know, understand, very, very good amateur, very decorated. However, I thought he lost, to be honest. I really did. I thought he lost. The Goan Garcia was, you know, typical, one of these very tough Mexicans. Looked like he hit harder than his record suggests, of just 1 KO, 12 wins. So yeah, I thought Yafai doesn't look like he's really improving. You know, he's been in that GB camp, you know, pretty much all of his life, and he's still there now, really, because he's got McCracken as his trainer. So I get like they'll work on different things, but his style's very much the same. And, you know, considering they're talking up world title fights quite soon, I'd say he's a long, long way off yet. I think he needs to be looking at someone like the winner of potentially Jay Harris, Tommy Frank, someone like that. Otherwise, you're, you know, step him up too early, and it's just going to be a hell of a beating for him. He's just not ready yet. So yeah, not a great night for the Afis, really. Not very good at all. Galal is young, so, you know, it's hard just to lay into him, that sort of stuff. But, you know, he comes with this decorated background. He's got to be open to criticism. He's got a fortunate one on the cards. Let's see where he gets to next. But yeah, for me personally, I think they need to slow things down with him. We've said it before. There's this obsession with rushing people now, and, you know, make people rush them when it's correct and it's right, but at the same time, have the balls to put the brakes on, because, you know, it won't. It's right saying, oh yeah, a loss doesn't define a career. I completely get that, but there's no reason that you need to rush him and he falls short at a top level yet. Build him properly now. Sonny Edwards was matched perfectly, rising through the ranks. They should mirror that. Don't have the obsession with jumping up to world level straight away. A bit like something similar that Eddie Hearn did with Charlie Edwards. I think he chucked him in with, was it with like Casimiro or something like that after 10 fights?
Yeah, chinned him in 10 rounds.
Yeah, mate, it's far too early. Just far too early. You know, and one thing Yafai's not got, he's clearly not really got the power. And, you know, you can maybe get away with that as you go up the levels, but if you can't keep people off you, it's going to get even harder as you go up the levels. So yeah, slow down, focus on the domestic stuff, European stuff. Have, 4 or 5 fights, and he'll improve massively.
Yeah, there's a middle ground between how they ran Lomachenko and what they're doing with Campbell Hatton. Try to find that center. But it seems like that with a lot of those high-level amateurs, and Oz, I think maybe the mistake that they might make off of these, and give me your thoughts on this. I think that they might, off of these guys with these great amateur backgrounds who get a little bit of the national interest, they're trying to make sure that they capture as much of that interest and keep it going. And sometimes it just doesn't work out the way they want it to, but it's just so much of trying to keep that public attention in a manner, I guess.
Yeah, possibly. But in all honesty as well, I reckon if you surveyed a lot of people, who Galal Yafai was after he medalled at the Olympics, I'd say the majority won't have a fucking clue who he was. So they can't even say, we'll capitalise on, his high-profile amateur background. It's a bit different with Anthony Joshua, because he won gold and it was in the UK. So, there was a lot of,
And
obsession
heavyweight
behind
too, like Audley, it's the
heavyweight,
heavyweight.
which is exciting. Whereas, bags of crisps are lighter than some of Galal Yafai's opponents. They're tiny. So it's one of them, that they've just not got that same appeal compared to others. So yeah, it's like I said, there's an obsession with rushing, some high level amateurs. And how many times have we seen before that just because you're a quality world class amateur doesn't always mean you're gonna do it as a pro as well. Bit different in levels, but Tom Stalker was a prime example. Really, really good amateur, bang average pro at best. So yeah, it's for me that fight last night. It should show there's nothing wrong with being a top class amateur and then actually fighting at domestic level. Go and win the British title. Go and fight for the Commonwealth. Then move up to European level instead of just these trinkets where you're fighting unknown Mexicans. And he should have lost. He should have lost for me. He should have lost. He should be 2-1 now. He got lucky, so work on it.
Think they might just get him in for try to get him in for an area title or something next if you were running his career? Do you think he's that level?
Oh no! God, an area title would be absolutely pointless because he's far superior. I'd look at the winner of Tommy Frank against Jay Harris, which is for the British title next. Personally, that's what I'd be doing. I feel he's more than good enough to be competing domestically, so that's where I would look to move him to next. If that fight can't be made, look at a Commonwealth title. Again, European. You can come up against some, decent guys, at the little weight. So I don't think you need to be doing that yet. So yeah, I'll be very much focusing on the British Commonwealth area for the next probably 2 or 3 fights. Then up to European level for a couple. Then start, looking at these eliminators, that sort of stuff. All dependent though on how these performances go, really.
Yeah, it's keep moving along. We'll see. I guess we'll see him early next year. They're keeping him active. I guess that's the one thing that even if they're moving him wrong, keeping him active, keeping a lot of these fighters active. That's a good thing. Hate to see people on the shelf for so long, and we'll use that as a segue to go into the Showtime card. Someone who was been on the shelf too long and said he wants more fights is screaming over the ropes after he was done finishing off Unieski Gonzalez was Andre Durrell. Stopping him in the 10th round, mercy stoppage by the referee. Was able to make back some of that lost Ramirez money there. And then moving into the real televised part of the card, we'll start with the main event there, Steve. David Morell with a vile, vicious knockout over Aidos Yerbosynuly, or maybe it's Yerbosynuly after what we have learned recently.
Oh, well, that's interesting. You should say that, Matty. I was going to say we need to get Rapping Rob Kelly to do a rap and see if he can rhyme Aidos Yerbosynuly with Janisbek Alim Kanuli.
Yeah. I mean, we basically write the song for himself. All he has to do is get in the studio at this point, Steve. Like, what the fuck is he doing? We ask one thing of him. Record us a new intro, Rob. And we're writing lyrics for him and shit like that. I mean, you and I, we've got the dope rhymes. We just need him to lay down the beat and fucking put it on and fucking rap it. That's all. I swear to God. But that was a vicious, vicious stoppage by Morell. That finishing right hand, they said it was an uppercut. Steve, I think it was that old Colt. You know the one I'm talking about, the 45 that they used to have Oscar throw. Great shot. Guy was messed up, taken to the hospital afterwards. I haven't heard anything about his condition afterwards. It was mainly for evaluation. It might have taken nearly the whole 36 minutes, Steve, but Morell, she finally finished him off. Showing a lot of class, too, at the end in helping Aidos back to his corner. Steve, I struggle with Morell. Like, he's a good fighter, but the level of opposition, like, he could be a real threat to the top guys at 168, or he could just be, one shot away from becoming someone we forget. I can't place him yet.
I can place him. Similar to Dmitry Bivol, I am a big fan of David Morell. I love watching him fight. He's captured a real audience in that armory as well. He's got the silky skills, the boxing skills of a Cuban, but he lets his hands go with speed, precision, a lot of power. He's only 24, so there's still plenty of time for him. He's had 8 fights, 9 fights now. the second time he's gone into the 12th round, the first time against Lennox Allen, but he's got that fake WBA bauble title. Don't really know why they needed to push him into that. Maybe it's for marketing purposes, but the talent is there for all to see, and I'm on board. I'm on the train. And as you said there, Matty, fair play to Eidos Yerbosynuly, who I gave the unrivaled analysis on last week. Very strong, warrior's heart. Technically limited, I would say, probably. Lacking a bit of speed as well. I didn't think he'd make it past the 4th round, given how the early rounds played out. Morell, he was showboating, displaying a very visible disparity in speed, popping out some outrageous shots at times from all sorts of angles, right onto the body, right uppercut, slicing up Yerbosynuly's nose. However, due to Morell slowing down a little bit, possibly as a result of the body shots, Morell took his foot off the gas in the middle rounds, which prolonged the fight eventually. Because poor old Yerbosynuly, he was competitive, failed to win a single round on 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards, including the esteemed Don Trella Sr. Probably was fair, but not a real reflection of his efforts, not even to give him a round. And then once Morell got that second wind in the 10th round, it was just one-way traffic then. And it started to become an uncomfortable watch. Now, the referee, Tony Weeks, who I've been a little bit critical of in the past, he sensed things were going on, started hovering around the corner after the 11th. And there was the omnipresent Kei Kuroma, who's much lauded in some circles. He never seemed to really acknowledge that his fighter was seriously running out of gas and he was taking a bad beating in that 12th round. It didn't occur to Mr. Kuroma to maybe pull him out. And then the image of him falling back into the ropes, as you mentioned there, Matty, being carried back to his corner by the referee and Morell himself, that was a worrying sign, especially as Yerbosynuly, it started blinking really heavily about a minute before the stoppage, like Gerald McClellan blinks. And I was thinking, there's definitely something wrong with him here. Morell had to help carry him back to the corner. He was really badly shaken. They took him to hospital afterwards on a stretcher, they said. Haven't heard anything else since. But for Morell, they were talking about him fighting David Benavidez. That fight was in the works. Benavidez is fighting Caleb Plant now, which is even better for us. Morell needs a bit more experience, needs a bit more seasoning, but he gives all of the top fighters a hell of a night even now. So once he matures, who knows what he'll become. I'm looking forward to it.
You know, it was, for me, Steve, I hate to venture into the poetic, but I feel like the end of that fight, I mean, the hospital, and all that, on the back burner, it's so much encapsulated the brutal beauty and despite the war, the camaraderie between men that exists in boxing. I mean, literally a minute earlier, Morell just laid everything into a shot to fucking finish this guy off, finish this fight, and put him down. And then he's helping carry the guy back to his corner. I mean, I don't know. There's those moments like that where as raw and savage as they are, I think it just goes to show something about the sport and the way that the respect that these men have for each other in the ring.
Well, as the great philosopher Adam Smith once said, this is why we love this sport so much, Johnny. So that would be my response to that. Absolutely. Warriors in the ring, gentlemen outside, but sometimes there's a bit of beef as well. But it wasn't called for. I think Morell realised how tough Yerbosynuly was. He'd beaten the shit out of him. It took him a long time to get rid of him. And then eventually he was staggering across the ring. What can you do but help him back to his corner? So that was a bit of class from Morell.
See, Steve, I just feel like we're going to learn it's Yerbosynuly. I mean, at least he's not as good as Alam Hanallah. So maybe we won't have
take
to
it as it comes, Matty.
But I just have a hunch.
That's what happens. Okay.
So, Andy, did you catch these fights on Showtime?
Yeah, I only caught the 2 top fights on the card, mate. I was actually impressed with Morell, believe it or not. I was watching it there last night. I'm thinking to myself, if he's got Canelo in front of him based on that performance last night, would they beat Canelo as well? Certainly liking this Cuban at least. He's marketing himself pretty well. He speaks English, so that'll be an easy market for him, and he could easily now become maybe one of the next stars in the sport. Really liked his work. He was very aggressive, worked the body up to the head. It was a bit of a punishing fight, to be fair, on Yerbosynuly, or we'll call him Adios for just shortness, but worrying. And another one as well, actually, I don't think he was listening to his corner. I don't know if it's maybe a language barrier possibly as well, but the corner didn't seem to be kind of up to too much. Good. Obviously, the kid's got a good amateur background in that as well, so it will all stand him in good stead. Just wanted to say though that with the options, as much as 6 to 8 kind of drying up, now obviously Canelo's got the all the belts as such. Morell's got this fake title. It seems like Khalid Plant's going to be fighting Benavidez next. So I'm just looking at some of the offers here. I don't know if they maybe strip Canelo, maybe make him champion in recess like WBA like to do. Maybe make Morell full champion as such. But the options that he's got here in the WBA's top 15 is just absolutely horrific. I mean, I was just saying to you guys in the chat that Rocky Fielding's still ranked number 4. And you've got Paddy McCrory, who obviously he won the IBO title a couple of weeks back in Germany. He's rocking up at number 5. Shane Mosley Jr., Edgar Berlanga, who I think Morell would absolutely obliterate. And then you've got that other Cuban that I mentioned to Steve back in a couple of months back, actually based out of Germany, is Osles Iglesias. Another Cuban who's maybe not getting the competition as such. But I think Morell's really kind of coming into his own at the minute. And as I said, I was really, really impressed with him last night. Okay, it's good that you got a tough guy in front of you who just couldn't switch it up as such. But in the end, the ending was emphatic and a bit of class as well at the end. They kind of carry the poor fucker back actually because he was done, absolutely done. I think he obviously with the first knockdown he got up pretty quick. Probably just wanted to try and see out the fight. But as Steve says, the ref was kind of hovering. He kind of knew maybe the writing was on the wall. The guy I think he was no cut around about the nose, or certainly the nose was bleeding at least. Took a bit took a heavy beating in the end, really. And obviously badly stopped and that as well. It's testament as to how he went back to the corner and how fucked he was. So I was very impressed with Morell. I would agree with you to a point as well, Matty, that again, durability, I'm not too sure about that yet. Obviously, that will come with experience and the harder fights that he gets. And just, as I always say, maybe just never trust a Cuban in that department. We just don't know. But it's interesting times. I think this guy could be the next champion in the division at least. And as I said last night, based off our performance and how Canelo's looked in his last few fights, I would have backed Morell to beat Canelo there last night. And that's not me drinking the Kool-Aid or anything like that. That's just my opinion. I think it's pretty much spot on, which it usually is, mate.
Well, and what makes that fight interesting is that you feel like he would actually like go in there and fight Canelo a bit, and it wouldn't be like a clinical like it was against Bivol. He'd be in there for a real battle, like the first Golovkin fight.
Definitely, and it says both seem to like. Well, obviously Canelo likes to work the body. Southpaw as well. Does he cause Canelo problems because of that southpaw stance? That right hook's not got as far to travel compared to his back left hand, so to speak. Really, really interesting fight. But as I mentioned, I just found the quotes that Canelo is not looking to come back until at least May, possibly September. He was saying there. But yeah, definitely we need somebody in this division at 168 to kind of come through. Maybe a wee bit of star appeal. Golovkin's, he's not a 68 fighter. Canelo's out for at least 6 to 9 months possibly. And if you go through that top 15, top 10 of any sanctioning body there is nobody really that kind of screams to you star power.
Benavidez is the only fight that kind of really interests me for him at 168.
Well, see, this I was going to mention as well about Canelo. It's going to be interesting because these guys who have all been sitting back for his payday, for the last 12 fucking however months it is till their fucking phone goes off, or you've got the payday fight. They might have to be forced to fight each other now, actually, to be fair. And it says Plant Benavidez, if that comes off, that's a very interesting fight. I think there's genuine beef between these two. And it seems to be that Plant is the only guy at the minute is the one taking the risks and fighting these other guys, so to speak, these other top champions, top fighters in that division, whereas everybody else seems to be kind of hanging about waiting for the Canelo fight. So I think the next 6 to 9 months might be interesting to see if some of these guys end up fighting each other. Especially the Charlos, for example. I don't think they've even got a fight arranged or anything muted. So we need to see what's happening with the Charlos as well. So obviously we got the Charlo at 160, but there's talk about him going up to 68 possibly was another. So we'll wait and see. I was impressed with Morell.
You mentioning Canelo against Morell as well makes it more interesting. The Canelo crossroads swerve whenever he had that choice to make, and he went for Bivol. Let's get it right. He thought they were going to beat Bivol, and then the elderly version of Golovkin for that DAZN, rather than going the Benavidez, Charlo, possible Morell route.
Of course, Canelo was talking about he doesn't want to fight Mexicans, eh? That's a load of pish as well. I mean, he fought Chavez Jr. So that's not an excuse to be ducking these
He'll
guys.
fight Ramirez now. He looked like Chavez Jr. last night.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Did you hear it? Was it Chris Manx on the broadcast last night? I wonder what Canelo was thinking about this loss about Ramirez. I think Canelo outside his fucking front of the living room got out fucking spinning fingers at fucking Ramirez getting beat there last night. Fuck you! I don't need to fight him. Fucking hell! But as Ozzy said as well, there is one chance Canelo's got at beating Bivol, and that's zero chance. I think unless he gets absolutely lucky with a fucking shit fucking kick or a punch or a DQ, just something act of God, so to speak. He's got no business with Bivol, and the fact that he never took that rematch straight away tells its own story as well.
Well, he has a lot of time away from the sport with a doctor and a prescription pad there now.
Yeah, might see him coming back like Conor Ben.
Ah! I don't know what the Spanish translation of that is.
Bosh.
So let's see here. And further down that card, Brian Mendoza absolutely blasting out Jason Rosario with an uppercut in the 5th round. He also dropped him with a body shot in the 2nd, I do believe. Rosario calling an end to his career. After that, he has had enough. Steve, any thoughts on this Brian Mendoza? That you came in as an underdog and he's fucking splattered Rosario.
I know. Going to Rosario's body is like the sun rising in the morning, isn't it? You always know that it's
Jesus
gonna.
Christ, man! Is there a guy in boxing, or up to at least last night, where more the term glass body was written for
Brian
that
McGee,
guy, man. Brian McGee, but he's not he's retired now, mate.
Yeah, I know, but yeah,
But
him.
my God, I've never seen a guy who just simply does not like it. I mean, you got fighters who can take it there, or maybe show it that they don't like it. Gatti, for example, against Ward, remember them? But fuck me, man, that guy takes a shot and he's like down straight away.
Aye, go for the body, I think is the key phrase for him. They said during the broadcast that Rosario had some kind of parasite growing in his stomach at some point. Well, there must be something making him repeatedly susceptible to that body with that strap going in. But I mean, he was down from a left hook. But tell you what, that uppercut that finished him off was an absolute cracker right upstairs. Rosario hadn't got the defense going. And then the funniest thing for me, Matty, I don't know if you have it for Bellew of the Week. I didn't manage to cut it, but during the post-fight interview, Brian Mendoza pulled the cardinal sin of shouting out to the crowd and not only getting the location wrong once, but getting the location wrong twice. Shouting out, "I love you, Mississippi." No, wait, Minnesota. No, Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, Minnesota. He was right with the state. Yeah, you just got he got closer and closer with each one. Good for him.
He pulled the old. I remember Keith Thurman doing that before, shouting out to San Diego and then trying to rectify it to San Antonio. The crowd would boo Mendoza, but he seemed like a real nice guy. He said, "Look, I've been punched in the head repeatedly. Give me a break." Seemed like a nice guy afterwards, but yeah, he got that wrong. Big win for his career. Got himself back on track again. And also, a quick gripe I had about this fight was what I call, Matty, the clingy ref. Mark Callow-Oy was the referee. Usually a good referee, but I've noticed other refs do this as well. He was the culprit this time. They hold on to a fighter during a stoppage and they just won't let go. I don't know if you ever noticed this. The guy's been stopped on his feet. Okay, fair enough. The referee grabs him at first. But then certain referees just won't let go of him. And Rosario's like, "Get off me." And he's holding on to him for dear life. He's clearly not concussed or anything. And the referee just would not let go of him. I don't know why they do this, Matty. It's a stupid gripe of mine, but let go of them for God's sake.
Like it's like Goodwill Hunting. It's not your fault.
Yeah,
No, ref. No, it's not your fault.
I can understand if they're all over the place, like Yerbos. They could have done with clinging on to Yerbosynuly a few fights later as hard. But Rosario was like, "Get off me, man. I'm all right."
Oh God, yeah, that's good stuff. Wasn't all too well. I'll tell you, the one guy I'll write off of that card, Steve. Maybe I'm wrong. Is Fedor Sarkisian. Taking a unanimous decision over Nathaniel Gallimore. Just something missing there for me. He's good enough. He'll probably find his way to an eliminator or something like that, and we'll see what he's got there. But there's just something that's lacking there. Whatever it is that makes the champion, I don't know that this guy got it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of him, actually. I mean, we were struggling last week, no to pronounce it, weren't we? Fyodor Cherkushin, they were calling him. So it's a name we're probably going to have to become accustomed to after this display at least once more on Showtime. Nathaniel Gallimore, I mean, he's game as hell, but he's undersized for middleweight. He's on the slope of his career. Last I saw him, he was getting stretched out against Sebastian Fundora, I think it was. His trainer was calling for him to do things. He was trying to cut off the ring, apply some pressure. He just wasn't physically capable. And I was relatively impressed with Chikushin Mattia. Maybe give him a chance. I thought he put his punches together nicely, realised headhunting wasn't going to work against someone of Gallimor's toughness, and he went down to the body nicely. A few thumping uppercuts. Thought the uppercut was lovely. And he seems like a personable individual, so we'll keep tabs on him. And maybe with the right dance partner, he could become something interesting. But yeah, a bit of a Stanionis kind of character. Good fundamentals. Not sure how far he'll go, but hopefully not too far, so we don't have to pronounce that name each week.
Matty, sorry, mate.
It's getting really irritating. Oh, hold up real quick, and I'll bounce over to you, Andy. It's just getting really irritating, and we've got all these embargoes against Russia, and I just think they need to expand it to a lot of the former Soviet states, Steve, because I'm getting fucking sick and tired of pronouncing these guys' name. Let them fucking fight each other on fucking RT. Fuck them. I don't want to deal with it. It's getting annoying.
No, I say let them fight, man. Keep calm and blame Vladimir Putin for everything.
No, then they have to take fucking English names, all right? They're going to be like fucking Paul Johnson and shit like that. We're not dealing with this for Sarkeesian or figure out if it's Anuli or Anala. It's too much. They're asking too much.
Do you know what they need to do, Matty? Back in the day when I used to work in the university many years ago, about 20 years ago, whenever the Chinese students came in, they had their Chinese name and then they used to take a westernized name and they were able to choose this for themselves. And of course, being of a certain age, around that time, it was the whole Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera theme. So you would have had them calling themselves Britney and Christina and whatnot. So what you're suggesting is that these fighters should choose like a sort of like Andy Smith or John Jones or something like that.
Exactly.
Well, that's an interesting suggestion, I suppose.
Yeah. I just think you'll make it easier for everyone. I'm tired of being uncomfortable. Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, I just thought of this to bring this up to you guys. Now, obviously, me and Steve were talking just on the chat there that started the show about how badly that Yerbosynuly got basically the piss beat out of him. So Fat Dan just tweeted out there literally just under an hour ago. According to several sources involved in Saturday night's Showtime Boxing Premier Boxing Champions event, Adios Yerbosynuly remains hospitalised following a 12-round KO loss to David Morell. His specific condition is unclear, but one source said he is hurt pretty bad. So that's, we're talking there about him blinking and all that type of stuff. That's.
I got that impression, Andy, from looking at him. I didn't think he was in a good way at all. From the blinking to the falling, even when he sat on the stool, I thought he looks like he's in a bad way, this fella.
Yeah, he was fucked up. Hopefully he'll be all right, and hopefully for David Morell, it doesn't impact him the way that like Mike Perez was after he fought. God damn it! Why can't I remember his name right now?
Magomed Abdusalamov.
Thank you, Abdusalamov. It's a vicious sport. It's very, very vicious. I mean, we are cracking each other in the head repeatedly. So, God love him. Hopefully, he recovers well. And keep your eye on that. Possibly if you got a couple of bucks, and maybe sometimes they need help on that, like Abdusalamov did. Boxing community really came together for that. And I'll break real quick. I don't know if you guys saw any of the press conference after Deontay Wilder, but he broke down a little bit talking about Pritchard Colon. And I mean, it's interesting because you wait this guy, I want to have a body on my record. And then he's crying about Pritchard Colon and what he went through on that. But I think it goes to show there's a performance art aspect of selling the show. And then there's also the realization that these fighters have about it all. And fighters still to this day are given money to the Colon family to help them get through. So
Can I just quickly mention something? Sorry, Matty, there, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Michael Thompson threw in an interesting one there. That would have been the perfect opportunity there for Yerbosynuly to have been given some oxygen. The referee, the doctor, obviously he's a medical professional, not calling his integrity into question, but he was there kind of laughing with the guy in the corner, hands on the shoulders, looking into his eyes and all. It all seemed very rudimentary to me. It really did seem like a situation where this guy should have been on oxygen straight away. I actually thought that at the time, and Michael seems to think the same thing.
That doctor looked like a dead body, man. It was checking his eyes out, wasn't it?
It was all very rudimentary, wasn't it, Andy?
Yeah.
I thought, yeah.
We've seen it before about things in America, and we've seen it in Thailand, places like that. But I don't know if it's like an insurance thing or if it's a cost issue, whatever it is, and that. But you see it all the time in British rings. Usually, when a guy gets badly knocked out or badly suffering, it gets the oxygen put on him straight away. it's just another sad sign, eh? It's a fucking bad one, but
yeah,
hopefully he pulls through. Like,
I've always wondered about that myself. So, but yeah, best of luck to him. So hopefully he will recover just fine on that. But I guess, Andy, we'll go to the sunnier side of the street for you. And why don't you let us know about that Japanese card, which helped to vault you into second place in the Prediction League standings?
Who else saw it? Just out of curiosity. I mean,
I didn't see it. I heard about it, and it made me sad because
Andy, I told you about my shame during the week. I didn't get to see any of it, even though we had an extra 4 or 5 days to watch it, and I never watched a damn second of it. I'm so sorry.
No worries. So what we got here, I'll try and make it brief. That Nakatani Rodriguez fight. Probably start off with that. No, I'll start off with the Yoshino. Is it Masayoshi fight? Nakatani. I think it was a pretty. I'm just trying to kind of pull something up here. Yeah, so yeah, Yoshino, you're just trying to kind of like walk into distance. Really, just kind of shoot your shots over the top. Maybe he was just having issues in that as well with the jab, trying to set things up. He did look like he was a bit kind of basic, to be fair, but in the end, though, he's landed a left hook that stiffed Nakatani pretty stiff, followed up a few combos, put him down. He got up on his feet, Nakatani, but the ref kind of like waved the fight off. I think it was he was up on the cards by 2 possibly, and it was a draw on the other card. Nakatani Rodriguez was a bit of a tough watch, to be fair, actually, because Rodriguez, again, obviously we experienced that type of thing, but he was really kind of pushing the boundaries, really kind of what was legal, because he was obviously trying to make it rough, maybe trying to kind of get Juanito Nakatani, that is, into some sort of kind of, you know, position that he just wasn't kind of comfortable to deal with. He's more your kind of classic boxer. Says Rodriguez just trying to kind of rush him, kept it up. Well, you know, kept him at bay really with a kind of long jab, but I thought Nakatani was getting some good overhand shots in as well. Says Rodriguez was having his moments in that inside as well. Tried to make his moments count at least anyway when he got the opportunity. But as I say, a lot of holding. I think Rodriguez had been warned a number of times. That's why I can't remember if he got a point deducted off at this point. Actually, I think he might have done. But again, it says he's just trying to kind of grind it, just try to take Nakatani into the grinder. But ultimately, it was down the stretch. Really, Rodriguez just kind of showed signs of tiredness, swellings. I think there was maybe a couple of cuts, possibly maybe even a bleeding for the nose. But Nakatani was just pure happy to box, keep it at distance, use his reach, keep it at mid distance, that type of thing. But in the last round, I think Rodriguez was pretty much fatigued, and Nakatani just kind of really started to kind of pick him off. So yeah, he was definitely kind of more worthy of his win. I think was it Gonzalez Iwata, mate, that was on the Prediction League, I think, last week. I think I pretty much called that, actually.
It was, yep. Gonzalez on points on that one. And I did see the Kenshiro fight, so I'll get in on that with you. But
no problem.
Gonzalez did good on that. I mean, I caught some piece of that. Look, I'll lead you into it. So I tried so hard to watch this fight, Andy. Mm-hmm. This fight would have come on at like 4:30 in the morning, and I had set an alarm for 4:15. And at 2:00 in the morning, I woke up with my stomach rumbling, and I ended up having to go to the restroom, and I just didn't make it. So I did make it out for the main event, but I dozed off on the couch because I was so out of it. So I didn't even get to watch the main event till the afternoon. It was rough, but I tried so hard to watch this live, Andy. I went through hell and back. I really did.
Well, a bit like Steve, I kind of like managed to kind of stretch this out over 3 or 4 days. So I only caught up with the Kenshiro fight this afternoon, actually. But as I mentioned last week, it was pretty much predicted actually how I felt Gonzalez was going to approach this fight, and he was, to the letter, he did exactly what I thought. He moved, he counter punched, he popped the jab, very good southpaw. He used very quick lateral movement. Iwata's he's just having severe problems trying to pin him down, really trying to kind of get anything into him. So Gonzalez was too elusive for him, showed guile. He just troubled Iwata for the entire fight. I think the scorecards maybe slightly, well, especially 2 of the cards, I think were maybe slightly close. I think Gonzalez kind of caught him a couple of stray shots. For what Iwata tried to kind of like capitalise on. Iwata caught him a few low shots that he tried to kind of capitalise on. You could see Gonzalez kind of moaning to the referee about some of the low shots. Probably loaded up a bit too much as well, I think, Iwata, and it looked easy at times for Gonzalez. But just throughout the fight, Iwata just remained the aggressor. He was still missing shots. He just lacked the deft moves really that Gonzalez had for him. Really, maybe slightly slowed down a little bit. Gonzalez maybe as the fight kind of stretched on a little bit, but in the end, he was far better than what Iwata was. Maybe Gonzalez maybe got a wee bit aggressive. Maybe kind of latter half of the fight, maybe feeling that he slightly maybe kind of gave up the last few rounds, possibly maybe just began to use his legs a little bit in that as well. But clearly, a very very good fighter. And it'll bring us on to the main event really, because obviously he mentioned in the post fight that he would be looking at the winner between Kaiguchi and Ken Shiro. So that would be the WBO belt getting put up for for potential offer if that fight was ever to get made between him and Ken Shiro.
That'd be a big fight in Japan. They seem to like Gonzalez there. Man, I tell you what, that Kenshiro Teraji Kaiguchi fight was fantastic. I think it was the 5th round, pretty brutal display there, with Kaiguchi turning it around towards the end, but after he got floored by an exceptional right hand. And then I think did it get stopped in the next round? Was it, Andy? It just 7th. Taraji just too much for him. Vicious little dude, hell of a motor on this guy. I feel like someone is going to smoke him with a left hook with the way he likes winding up that right hand. But until that happens, oh man, it's such a fun fighter.
I can't remember what I picked last week on this one. Actually, can you remember?
We wasn't in the league.
Was it no? Right,
No.
Okay, no problem. I think I was kind of like flim-flamming back and forward between predictions, but the scorecards don't lie either. This was pretty much a dominant win for Ken Shiro. Seen some guys saying maybe potential fight of the year. I think it was a one-sided domination. Ken Shiro very very aggressive, came right out the trap straight away. Kaiguchi's very keeping the high guard, but I think Ken Shiro was finding shots, or Taraji, whatever you might call him, finding the shots, basically piercing the guard, got the shots off. He was just having severe issues. Kaiguchi just trying to land anything solid on him. Ken Shiro he would take that wee half step back after he threw his shots when Kaiguchi was maybe trying to counter him, and he was having severe problems trying to land any shots. Maybe he would land a single left hook to the body here and there, or a single shot to the head, but there was nothing that he sustained, in my opinion, that it was any way, shape or form bothering Ken Shiro. Round 4, again, Ken Shiro landing massive shots. Then the straight right hand in round 5 drops Kaiguchi. And then, to be fair, Kaiguchi sold out around the end of round 5, actually. He kind of came back, tried to kind of come back into it, hung his balls out there, but ultimately it was like a kind of last gasp effort, because he was nowhere near in that fight, getting dropped like he did. Maybe the Japanese pride just kicked into kind of warrior mode and just came up short. And then Kenshiro just established his dominance in round 7. Got a knockout after kind of landing several right hands beforehand, and then just kind of like punched him, basically dropping Kaiguchi straight into the ropes, and referee just waved it off. If that had been allowed to continue, I think he'd have been properly iced within the next 30 seconds, possibly maybe even slightly longer if he was able to hold it. But definitely, probably performance of the week, possibly, and equally brutal stoppage as well. So fair play to Kenshiro, because I think I maybe wrote him off after that first defeat off that. Was it Yakubu? I think his name was, or Yakubu. He come back. Yabuki, sorry.
Yeah, you beat the shit out of Yabuki.
He came back in the rematch, absolutely dominated him. That's how much he kind of dominated this fight. So fair play to him as well. So hopefully that Gonzalez fight gets made. Another interesting fight, actually. If Ken Shiro's going to come out that aggressive, he's going to find more problems with this guy. Gonzalez is a very, very good boxer, lateral movement. And that type of style that you kind of expect him to get fucked over on the cards, because it's not really fan friendly.
Ivan Calderonish.
Well, nah, but well, possibly, mate, possibly. But very, very good fighter. That's we'll leave it at that. But it's an interesting one, and it's good to see the light flyweights kind of maybe getting unified as well, because I think we've had for too long. We've had Japanese or Asian champions no fighting each other in unification fights as much. So it's good to see it's kind of maybe kind of happening again. So I think that may be the first unification between two Japanese since maybe Ioka and what's his name, Higashi, all the years ago, possibly.
I'll tell you what, Ed, the fight that I would like to see, Andy, if they can make it happen. So if Kenshiro is able to beat Gonzalez, and with the news that Bam is going back down to 112, I would be interested if he pulled that off and him moving up to 112 pounds to fight Bam. I think that's a good fight.
Possibly, mate. I mean, I'd be interested to see it because Rodriguez came up for 108. And again, I wouldn't want to see like Kenshiro or you know, if he was to win, go up and fight Gonzalez, just because his first fight of the weight, you just don't know how he's going to hold it. I know it's only a few pounds, but it's massive for these guys, eh? Still a couple of decent enough fights at that weight, which will not bore people with at this point. But yeah, I take the point. Maybe like a Sonny Edwards fight, or that Dalakan. I think he might be retiring. Of course, you've got the vacant WBO title at flyweight. I think still Nakatani vacated it to move to 115. So there's maybe a route that he might be able to go down as well, possibly. But I think that's the fight that's the belt that Rodriguez is maybe targeting. I think the vacant WBO belt coming down to 112, possibly. So I forget who he's fighting at this point. Actually, maybe it's no Alvarado. I forget at this point. Sorry. You're on mute, Matty.
Who's there? Hello? Hello?
No, oh yeah. I think they're going to set him up to fight Martinez at 112 because I think Martinez still is belted at 112.
Right. Okay. No problem. Well, I wonder if I maybe even put the two belts in the line then, possibly. But I'm trying. Gonzalez, Rodriguez doesn't hold the WBO belt, does he? At 115. He's not unified champ, is he?
Who did he beat? Quadras up there, and
he beat Quadras, and he beat Rungvisai.
Yeah,
that was that was his last two fights. So,
yeah. Well, that was everything for the week. So with perfect timing to then just to go over everything we just talked about, Rob Kelly.
It's punctual as ever, you know what I mean? I'm here
Always.
for fucking when it counts, you know that way?
Always.
Yeah, so how was everyone?
Lovely. How was your weekend of boxing?
Yeah, weekend of boxing was great, seeing as I didn't fucking see any of it. I was in the pub last night and it was my little one's birthday today, so I haven't seen fuck all really, apart from Bivol and Zubo. Yeah, I thought Bivol is the master of fucking unanimous fucking points decisions, isn't he? Like there's death taxes and Dmitry Bivol on points and a Badu Jack draw are kind of results you can rely on in boxing. And I think, like I said before, I think he kind of needs dance partners sometimes to bring out of him how good he is. I think he's top draw fighter, controls distance, got off in combinations. I kind of thought that as well last night, that he was going to get off on more combinations. I think you see him kind of sometimes when the opponent is not up to scratch, you can see Bivol just go through the motions with the jab, right hand, jab, right hand, bore you to sleep ad nauseum. But there were some exciting spells in the fight in terms of the punches he was putting together. And I just think he's a fucking top draw light heavyweight fighter. Like I think he's really, really good. I'm actually glad to see him getting some kind of exposure off the back of the Canelo fight. I think that's kind of done wonders for his career. And all the talk now is him and Beterbiev, and I kind of don't want to get my hopes up about Beterbiev and Bivol happening. But I think it's more likely to happen out of the fights, dream fights that we have across all divisions, where it's like top guys meeting each other at the height of their fucking apex or whatever. Now, I don't know if Beterbiev's been around for a while as well. So, talking about episode 500, I've been on the pod like 5 years, and at the start, kind of when I first came on the pod, Beterbiev was the boogeyman that everybody was kind of fearing, and that's still the same. So I don't know really how that fight plays out. It's one of two ways. Either Bivol controls the distance and just kind of nicks a decision, or Beterbiev manhandles him like he does with other people and breaks him down. Now, if Beterbiev can do that, I'd say he's a fucking hell of a fighter, because it's going to take a hell of a fighter to beat Bivol, I think. And yeah, so that's some of the other fights on the card I wasn't really particularly interested in any of the fucking UFI cards or the woman's fight with Cameron. Disappointed to hear. I heard McCaskill had a very poor performance. Some people were online were talking about like that she had some fucking brain injury. I don't know if that's actually true. I hope it's not, obviously. But by all accounts, she got exposed by Chantel Cameron. That's kind of putting her in the Katie Taylor sweepstakes, if you like. But I think Taylor probably has 1 or 2 fights left, and that's going to be it. And I'd say if she gets this fight in Croke Park, they're going to need Serrano to sell it, because 80,000 tickets is a big fucking ask, even for Katie Taylor in Ireland. So on that note, by the way, shout out to Mrs. Kelly again, the wife. One of her friends in the nursing home where they work is now a podcast listener, I hear. So she went back to Elva. She's interested in boxing, and Elva told her about the podcast, and then she went back out and came in and said that she was listening to it. She struggled to understand what all of us were saying, because we all speak very fast, she said. But she wants to know, would she be able to get tickets for the Katie Taylor fight should it happen in Dublin? I wouldn't say it'd be too difficult. I'd say with 80,000 up there for grabs, you might get some seats, all right.
We should get her on the pod.
Dude, I'd love to get that lady.
I can't fucking remember her name. I must give her. I get her name. I get her name the next time we give her a shout out. But it's always good to expand the female listenership. I think that's. She was listening last week. Yeah, I hope she did.
What did she think of John Fisher's Chinese order? Out of interest,
I don't know if she got that far, but it's good.
Probably
it's always good to expand
home.
the female listenership. Gosh, that's putting us up at 2 female listeners now. We've got Emily X. This other one. There's another female floating around in the chat. Anyway, I don't want to assume genders. There's a lady in the chat sometimes, some weeks, or maybe I think it's a guy that's on his wife's account. So we have, we're really flying out the door with the we got our finger on the pulse with ladies boxing, actually. So I must tell her to check out Chicks with Dig. That'll be something that she could get her teeth into, I'm sure.
I'm far less profane in that show too.
Yeah, tell her to check out John Fisher as well. Just get her general opinions on his size, his body mass, his appetite, his Chinese order.
Here's my thing about the John Fisher.
We need to ask.
I think about the Fisher
thing. We need to ask her if it's like a Chinese better than a 3-way. That's what we need. That's the question we need to ask.
Well, he's got another one. He's just uploaded a video which says a Chinese on a Sunday is better than a lad's holiday to shag a loaf. Bosh, and he's there. Big fucking bloke, massive gut there.
Here we go.
Tissue on his top, smashing a Chinese. Honestly, the videos that keep appearing are just unbelievable. I saw one before where he was eating his Chinese topless, and he spilt the plate all over him. Now, most people, they'd be devastated at that, but I actually think that was like a thing for him, and he was probably buzzing with it. Imagine, he was basically covering himself in curry sauce, kung po prawns, noodles, and anything else Oriental cuisine. It must have just been his idea of absolute, loving life.
What's the BM? What's the over under on his BMI?
Threes up. I think honestly, all jokes aside, somebody want to get that guy and have a fucking word in his ear, and the people around him that are encouraging this, because you're basically like every video you make, and he's on these like cameo things. Yeah, he's on these things cameo where people are getting him to do shout outs. I'm going to get one for Ozzy actually. We'll get one out of the super chats, but people are getting him like to fucking like order a Chinese, and it's like he's, I'm all for him. Like his son is doing like 3,000 tickets a year for a show. It's fucking phenomenal, and he's playing his part in helping him promo. But I hope to God fucking sense kicks in at some stage. You're going to kill this poor man. Like he doesn't look like he's going to be able for too many more fucking weekends of Chineses. Like
can you imagine if he ends up in hospital by you have thousands saying told you.
Yeah.
Next week, he is off doing meet and greets in nightclubs in the UK. He's got
I've got a question for you, mate.
He's got three. Anyway, sorry, just on that, how old do we reckon he is?
I don't know.
50s. He's got to be 50s anyway, isn't he?
50, older than 55?
36.
I would say. I'd say he's
So,
50s.
well, the average BMI for a male adult in the UK is 28.9. Now, we can safely say that's definitely over that, without a doubt. I reckon it could be double 28.9 personally. But yeah. He's fucking massive. Like, and he buzzes off the ball. Like, you know, it's not actually, you know, like, at first, you know, like, oh yeah, fair dues, but all he seems to eat is fucking Chinese food. Smashing it all the time, you know. He took his wife out and he's filming himself eating the Chinese. Ricky Gravel's just sent me the video of it now, 15 seconds long on his TikTok, and he's thingy, and he's there, you know, he was defeated by the Chinese, apparently.
I've got a question for you, mate.
Oh, Jesus.
I've got a question for Ozzy. Ozzy, right there, mate?
Yeah.
You want a fucking burger?
Who wants a fucking burger? He fucking loves it. Like, don't think at McDonald's. He literally marched behind that counter, just stood up, arms in the air, screaming, "Who wants a fucking burger?" It's mad, absolutely mad. I mean, that's saying though, they must love it when he walks in because he's not getting, you know, your pound saver menu in Mackey's, is he? He's on like a 40 quid order every time, and when the local Chinese rings up,
see, this is Chinese order was like £88 sterling. I
was going to say
he's doing his bit for small business, Ozzy.
Eat out to help it, Ozzy. Remember that? Eat out to help it.
Maybe before one of his son's fights on the undercard, he can challenge Joey Chestnuts to a hot dog eating contest.
I just hope honestly he doesn't, like, I think everyone's going to be like bosh till he fucking he's in cardiac arrest and they fucking got like an intubator on him and all, and everyone's going to be like, oh, what happened to poor Johnny?
Then they're going to be 1, 2, 3, bosh.
He's got two phone numbers saved dialed in his fucking mobile phone. One's a local Chinese naturally, another one's fucking Dino Rod. Clearly fucking drains, man.
If only we'd have seen this coming.
I bet he's got a double flush the toilet when he takes a shit in the morning, man.
Right, mate, he's on it again. He's on it again tonight, by the way. Again, you know, just to finish on this, he sent his mate this time to the Chinese, and he's returned with 8 full bags of food. Now, to be fair, there is a small party of them. I reckon there's around probably 6 or 7 of them. But there's fucking loads. There's absolutely loads, and he's there just buzzing with it.
I mean,
I didn't even know who he was until last week, right? And then I was like, I hadn't a fucking clue who this man was. I didn't know what boss was, any of the catchphrases, and then it's like popping up in my algorithms now. So this week I was just like casually scrolling Twitter, and then I saw a video of him sitting on a chair ordering a Chinese, and he didn't even move, and the chair just fucking broke. Broken bits.
After he's lost 2 stone as well, huh?
After he's lost 2 stone, yeah.
I was going to say, he's literally everywhere now. Every time I'm on Twitter, he fucking pops up. And it's always eating, like I said, either people are tagging him in tweets from like, no, what it is if people order a Chinese on a weekend, they send the video and he buzzes off it. And I won't mind, people are getting huge orders, I think, just to impress him. But the comment of the week,
Ames is part of the problem. Look at the screen. Ames is part of the issue. He's causing this.
Broke bread. I bet you only got a slice of it, mate. Fucking the lot. But every time I hear Ozzy say that he's fucking massive, it's like, remember when Isaac Hardman knocked out that guy in Australia and he had Jeff Fennick on commentary, the right hand landing away, like, he goes, oh, that's massive.
It was some knockout though, Andy.
It was. That's my knockout of the year, mate.
You know, I'm sorry, just to finish, but you know you're overweight when you fucking sat down on some rattan furniture, ordering a Chinese, he didn't move, and the fucking rattan legs just give way. I mean, if that is not a sign from where you need to trim down, what is? And all he did was laugh, keep swigging his fucking wine, and order more food.
How about Big John, Dan Raphael, and Gabe Brown in a game of musical chairs? and I'm not talking like,
It's
the
like Russian
moving around.
roulette, isn't it, that?
I'm not talking like moving around and like sitting on the chairs. I'm just seeing which
Those,
which
I
chair
was going to
goes
say
first.
those poor chairs don't stand a chance. I mean, Dan Raphael's already broke a chair at a press conference, didn't he? He was sat on it at Gabriel as well.
That poor son of a bitch. God, I feel bad about this. I mean, I'm not like skinny, but I'm like 30 pounds overweight. But Jesus fuck,
You're one of those guys that's skinny and fat at the same time, Matty.
it's something, yeah. Like you can hide your weight behind your beard, Rob. Like I don't got shit. Anyways, let's get. I think Ames is broken bread with the Fishers, and he says that he had mozzarella dippers. If anyone is curious. Anyways, I'd like to thank people in the chat, and I'm just gonna run up here. I haven't written anything down. If I miss you, I'm sorry. Let's see here. Mark Stanton, Christmas, Michael Thompson, Big A, Ricky Gravel, Ben Russell, Joe Burns. Joe Burns also threw a super chat in there of 449, thanking us for doing the podcast. We appreciate you very much there, Joe. Josh Ford, Cedric Sniff, David Palmer, Danny Lothar, our buddy Take Ames, Big A, Jim McDonald Boxing. Find somebody new. Danny Lothar, M. Lithgow, 1983. Liam Davis, Andrew Thickett. Michael Thompson, might even said Michael already. He's a great guy, though. No, I not mention him again. The Dr. FMG, who also put in the great meat and grease comment. God bless him. Let's see here. And we'll find one more in here for us, maybe. And the big old Johnny H.C. Nelson in there as well. We thank everybody who is in there, everybody that gives to the super chat, all of our Patreons. They're such fine folks. We love them very, very much. They think we're a special bunch, too. I don't know why. But, somebody's got to love us. I don't think our parents did very much given the results, but so somebody's got to love us. Let's see here. We do have some questions in here from the folks. Andrew Wedgwood. Random question, and I probably should know this, but who is the oldish bloke ringside at boxer shows with shades and a scarf on? Looks like a mafia boss. Any insight into that one, guys?
Wouldn't be like boxing to have any mafia bosses.
It's not Rick Glazer, is it?
Well, Rick Glazer won't eat Chinese. That's one thing.
Is that what they meant there? Or...
No, it's at the domestic shows, Aussie. I'm not sure who it is, to be honest. I have seen him though.
I've not a clue. I've not. I can't even picture him.
Might be the British version of the black man in the hat that was
the
at
Hat
the
Man,
Con fight, Con Peterson fight.
Good call, absolutely.
The man in the shadows.
What were Con's trying to claim that time? That the man in the hat was scoring the fight or something, wasn't it? Or something weird.
He directed their scores or something.
He was sat next to one of the judges, he was sat next to one of the commissioners that actually collated the scorecards.
That's right.
Lamont Peterson was juiced to the fucking gills when he he popped for all kinds of testosterone after the fact, didn't he? Like,
claim low levels of testosterone. Well, I wonder why that would be, All being on that Conor Ben treatment.
On the fucking.
Go ahead.
I was looking at that documentary about the fucking bodybuilders who killed each other. I don't know, I haven't watched the full thing. It was a bodybuilding couple and I think she killed him or something. But she was saying he was eating 150 eggs a week. And his cunt was like 240 pounds. So, I don't know how many fucking eggs Conor Bain can get down in a week for. Anyway, sorry, digress. Go ahead.
Thanks for that one, Andrew. John Heaton sent this one. Now that boxing has become a bit of a joke, who is the most unintentionally funny character in boxing today? For me, it's a dead heat between Floyd with his adverts and Joe Joyce with his attempts at trash talk. No, I'm with you on Floyd being who is the most unintentionally funny character. Fighting a 1 in 2 or 1 in 3 YouTuber, that's coming up a week from today, or maybe it's a week from 2 weeks from today. But what a freaking joke! I mean, you're talking about the greatest fighter of his generation. And he's just fighting these fucking chumps, and I don't know. And he dresses weird too.
Andy nailed it. Go on, Andy. I agree with you, man. Bivol's class, isn't he?
Bivol, he's got that. Obviously, because he's got that charm, no English being his first language. Fighting, went down to Canelo, punching the arms. He's wagging the finger at him. I seen a comment yesterday after the fight. Somebody, it was a question put to me saying, a lot of people are saying online that your performance tonight was far superior, far better than the Canelo performance. I went like, are you serious? With a straight face, just in the burst out laughing. He said, "Oh, thank you." Very understated, actually. Quite a funny guy.
He's a bit of an assassin, isn't he? Bivol?
Yeah, he's one of the guys who's probably the quiet guy. If you're standing with your mates and he's in your group, he's probably the one watching and listening to everything. But
Plus, he said to Eddie as well,
started, run for fucking cover, man.
See, when he said to Eddie after the Canelo fight, he said, "Sorry, Eddie, I ruined your plan." Sorry.
Yeah, that was good.
He called Canelo, which I think is on purpose. The little subtle change of the vowel at the end there. And apparently, in the pre-fight press conference, someone said to him, asked him if he abstained from sex or something, and he said something like, "Bring me your wife," or "Show me your wife."
That's far more respectful than saying you can't ask him any questions unless he copulates with you.
Fornicates.
There you go.
Fornicate. That was one of
So
the greatest.
You should be quiet. I usually don't do interviews with women unless I fornicate with them. So you should, be quiet.
Unless you want to,
Oh, what a guy.
I'm a so-so father. I'm a convicted rapist. I'm many things. So quotable. Anyways, you guys got any more unintentionally funny guys?
Chris Eubank Sr. Ozzy will love that.
Oh God, yes.
What was it? Some sort of, was it a meet and greet? Dressed like Tina Turner or something like that.
I saw that. Yeah.
He looks like he got the fucking clothes that were left over from The Fifth Element.
Something with one of the, like you say, Blade Runner or something like that.
Chris Colbus always reminds me of that for some reason.
The Chris Tucker character in
Oh, that has so many connotations. I fucking love it.
When you go as
Isaac Lowe getting a shout there. Sorry, Ozzy, go ahead.
Yeah, look, Eubank Jr. Eubank Senior without a doubt, he's absolutely class. In terms of being unintentionally amusing and it's just the random stuff he does. You can't make it up, which is the best thing about him. Low, without a doubt, he's thick, isn't he? Basically, he can't really read or write or spell. So yeah, he's just simply unintentionally amusing. And I think as well, we've just been on about him, but he's now, certainly large property in the boxing world, and that's John Fisher. And Chinese John, without a doubt, you can't not be amused now when you see a big bloke falling on chairs and smashing Chinese down himself. I think, yeah, he's got to be up there unintentionally amusing.
he must reek of soy sauce or something like that. That must ooze out his pores the amount of Chinese he eats.
Nah, he sweats sweet and sour, doesn't he, or something like that, and then blames him for it sauce.
Amir Khan's a good one as well, and Steve Bunt's got thrown in there to the chat.
Oh, yeah, Bunts is a great show. Yeah, Bunts is a great show.
Bunts is a good one because he takes himself so seriously.
Seriously.
Someone put out the Bernard Hopkins interview, almost beat down, I should say, the other day there. That was good reminiscing about that one.
Fox Nation glory days, the fucking Satanta Sport glory days, those ones, weren't they?
Me and Steve were talking about the Guillermo Jones fight the other week there, actually. Obviously, he was kicking off about, remember that Ben Jacobs? He broke the news literally like 3 hours before the show was due to go live.
Trolls they are!
Guillermo Jones with a drugs test.
We've had a report coming here, actually.
Bunty's on Twitter fucking raging. He's like, you try to do me a job or something along these lines. And literally 2 years later.
In the fight.
2 years later, he's on live. The fight's off. Bunsey was fucking raging. Oh, dearie me. Oh, fucking poor bastard. Who else we got unintentionally funny? Who's active?
Danny Garcia.
The guy is on unintentional comedy value, isn't he? Like, cause it's fucking pure comedy every time he fucking makes an appearance. Like,
yeah, Yeah, because you don't know, what's going on. You're like, am I at the boxing event or is he fronting the Meatloaf cover band? What's going on here?
The guard is a character. I've sampled the guard many times in real life.
What do you mean by that, Steve?
Bob Adam.
I'm gonna have to just stick by that one, aren't I?
What do you mean by sampled him, Steve?
I can't go any further.
You've had a piece of the gad? What?
Eat the balls as well, mate.
Jesus.
Oh, well, we're a fun.
No, but as Ozzy said last week, and I agree with him. I'm kind of warming to the guard these last few weeks. He was asking some very good questions, but also he was telling Umar, he says, "What the fuck's it got to do with you where I am, Umar?" So really kind of grown to that type of behaviour.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. He looks like a fucking one of the fucking cast members from Prisoner Cell Block 8, Stoney the Cat.
Boris, like, what do you think? We think a night out with Gareth would be like, mate? Think it ended like a night of debauchery, or do you think it would just be like quiet in the corner?
I don't think we go to those kind of bars.
I think it's debauchery. I think
like Game of Thrones, wasn't it, in the bad area?
Yeah, basically, aye.
Shame!
Walking to the street with a bell. Shame!
What game? Fucking see that Game of Thrones? Fucking stupid show, like, innit? Dragons flying around, all people like that. What's everyone going to do when the dragons fucking come? It's a fucking CGI dragon flying across the fucking screen. What's the matter with you? Giving up your life to watch this shit? Fuck's sake!
Alright, Rob only watched it for the finger blasting.
Exactly.
Cut his balls off.
All right then, John.
This is a fucking stupid show though. Like, what was
I didn't watch that.
It was the dumbest show, man. I swear to God, I watched it on the flight to Vegas because it was so long, and I was like, "Oh fuck it, I'll give it a try." Like, watch the first season. I was like, so I kind of stuck with it, and I was like, I can't. Like the way people are talking about this, like I swear it's like the fucking second coming of The Sopranos. It's like a bunch of lads who were fucking like extras in Peep Show and all have made fucking parts in it, going around talking about the Dothraki and all that. I couldn't fucking get that with that show at all, man. Anyway, sorry, fucking boxing aside.
HBO boxing as well.
I think it's fantastic. There's such wonderful debauchery going on in that show. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't like follow it heavily. Like, I didn't like watch it till the end, and I'm like, I guess I'll see what all the fuss is about.
Well, it's funny, Rob. It's funny, Rob mentioned watching it on the plane to Las Vegas. My friend gave it a try whenever we went to Boston, and he was sitting on the outside seat right next to the aisle. And you know what Game of Thrones is like? People were getting shagged left, right, and centre. And all of a sudden, he thought to himself, "Hang on a minute, there's people going to the toilet and all on the plane." And he's sitting there watching someone getting fucking rear-ended.
Some 8-year-old kid walking by. Hey, what's going on? Hey, mummy, look at this.
Dude, some of them chicks are fine as fuck, man.
Mommy,
you don't need to be getting a fucking semi on the plane ride over. You know, I mean, Jesus Christ.
Hey, I'll tell you a story, right? So we're flying to Australia. There was me, my dad, and my sister, right? And my dad had never flown. I think the first he'd been out of Scotland was like Holland, I think it was.
So you took him all the way to fucking Australia for his first plane ride?
Easy, man.
We've got family out there, right?
Christ.
We've got family out there.
You didn't cross the date line.
So we stopped in
Holland's
Singapore.
about an hour away, so.
I know. So we stopped in Singapore, right? And I swear to God, I was absolutely shattered by the fucking jet lag and that type of stuff. So we're on the final leg for Singapore, Perth, Australia, right? And you know how you got your TVs in the back of the seats. So somebody puts so a guy in front of him, and he's sitting there watching this fucking film intently, quietly for like an hour and a half, right? So the whole plane's quiet, folk are sleeping, and I'm kind of like dozing off. And the guy in front puts his fucking seat down in front of him, so my dad can't see the fucking the wee tablet, and all he hears is this fucking roar coming. Aye, very fucking good. He takes his fucking headphones off. He turns to me and says, "Stay this cunt," fucking putting his chair down. And I'm like, "Da, the whole fucking plane can hear you right now." I want you to fucking melt into the seat. Aye, very fucking good. He's shouting, "Fucking hell!"
That's funny because you were doing that on the way to Australia.
Fucking plane lands. Fucking unreal.
That reminds me of Jeffrey's bit about when he took his dad to the World Cup when it was in Germany. So very funny that you go into Australia, but you ought to check that out, Andy. I think Jim Jeffries' dad and your own might be very similar. But anyways, we've digressed on the fucking nonsense trek of debauchery shows and fucking going to Australia on a plane ride with your father. So let's go to another question from C. Lamont. Let's see here. He says he found an old copy of Ring Magazine yesterday. Question for the pod: who wins and outcome of this one? It's a poster of Sonny Liston against George Foreman.
They actually fought exhibitions back in. Let me think.
Would it have been when George was still an amateur?
Yeah, I think he was. Yeah, that was a very, very green pro. I think Liston might have been champ at the time. Actually, I think. When was the Olympics? When did they win gold at Olympics?
George won in 68.
It was won the 68 Olympics, wasn't it?
68. Yeah, so like the early 70s then. Because I think Ali beat Liston around about
64,
70?
wasn't it?
63 or 64 was the first one, I think.
64, I think, was the first one.
I'm trying to remember. They definitely fought exhibitions like.
Prime for prime, I'm going to say Big George destroys him, bangs him out.
I'm going to go Liston. I think he was underrated, especially at his absolute peak. Good box, very, very good jab, and the right hand was godly, man. You know, that fucking turned souls to dust. So I'm going to go for him.
I think Foreman. I think it'll look a lot like the Joe Frazier fight.
Nah, different fighters. Kind of like Frazier was kind of dipping into a lot of those shots, wasn't he? The way he kind of like.
Well, he was trying to get down and fucking set up that left hook, and fucking George kept picking him off.
One thing about Foreman, I'd say I think Liston, whatever the way you look at the second fight, I've heard someone great actually on the pod talk about this years ago about it, but may have been a fix. The second Ali Liston fight, but I think whatever way he looked for a way out in that fight, I think and in the first fight maybe as well, I think if Foreman got on top in the second half of the fight, he'd end up stopping him, bang him out. Anyway, what the fuck?
It's one of the great, two Hall of Famers, mate. Yeah, it's just one of the questions. It's just dream fights.
I think Foreman could have probably beat so many other top fucking heavyweights at the time. I think Foreman and Larry Holmes would have been a great fight as well. Brilliant fight.
Well, and Rob, here's a weird one for you. Let me throw this at you. I don't know that Muhammad Ali beats George Foreman in a climate that isn't Central Africa.
Yeah, I mean, look, the stars align in different ways in boxing. That's what makes it so special, even though it's such a shit show from a million different angles. When the stars align and something just fucking is in the air and special things happen, that was probably one of those nights. But fucking 100 boxing writers out of 100, I think, picked Foreman to beat Ali before that fight. So yeah, I think there could be onto something there.
I got a question for you: is Liston overrated or underrated?
It's hard to know, isn't it, because of his connections with the mob and all that. I don't know. Me and you did the punches from the past on him, didn't we? And he's such a complex character. It's really hard to know.
Outside of boxing historians, how many people talk about Liston outside of the Ali fights?
That's the thing, as well as that it's that he's famous for those two fights against Ali more than what he was famous for, what he did before that. But
he was starching guys, mate.
Yeah, no, totally. It was the Tyson story before Tyson story unfolded, wasn't it? In a lot of ways,
intimidation. George Foreman even said that he was one of the most intimidating guys they'd ever met. Basically molded himself like Sonny Liston, so to speak, didn't he? With his mannerisms, obviously, kind of reinvented himself when he came back after retirement, but he was just that type of guy, wasn't he? He was fucking ferocious, mate. But yeah, I think at his peak, he was definitely underrated as a technician. I think if you look at this is before, I think this might be before he fought Patterson actually. But if you've seen some of the people that he fought, he's light on his feet, bouncing his feet. The jab is just something else. It was probably the best jab at that point in boxing. It was just incredible the amount of power he could generate as well in that right hand. Godly.
Do you know what as well, Andy? In line with this question, I was searching it out after the fella put it. This comes from the Boxing Nutters Messenger group, by the way. And the actual article itself, there was a fantasy article written, which I'm not a big fan of actually. Ken something, I think, wrote it on the Ring magazine website. You'll be able to go and read it for yourself. Like, he basically plots out everything of the night, like in his head, effectively, how each round would go. And I'm pretty sure he comes to some bizarre conclusion that they end up in like a Prince Charles Williams, Murky Souza verdict, where the fight gets called off or labelled as a draw due to them both taking excessive punishment. I could be wrong, but it's a bizarre article. You should go and read it. I'll try and fish it out, but that stems from this question.
That's a hell of a dream. Gonna dream big, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, hey, thanks for that one.
Sounds like the fucking ramblings of a guy who's trying to chase points in a prediction league or something.
Me and you had a painful week. Mine more so than yours, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Let's see. We got one more.
Sorry, I made it back. I parlayed on the football yesterday, Matty. Had a nice little win there on the football yesterday.
I made it back on American college football. I'm right there with you, buddy. Let's see here. Irvin Kentish says, "Good evening, Nuthouse. 3 of my favorite fighters of all time, Pernell Whitaker, James Toney, and Floyd Mayweather, could have been Hall of Famers in any era. What 3 fighters would you pick that can do the same?" Okay, so maybe he's kind of talking like the modern era, because the classics are kind of the classics. I think, Rob, you've hit it on that. I think Terrence Crawford's a throwback fighter. I think he competes in any era. I think Tyson Fury competes in any era.
Roman Gonzalez
competes in any era possible. Yeah, I think you could be very well right about that, especially his prime. Yeah.
But he's not a Hall of Famer yet, though, is it, to be fair? I think we can say Gonzalez is definitely going to be a Hall of Famer.
Dmitry,
you don't think anybody's Hall of Fame yet? Isn't he like a 3-4 weight division champion?
I think Lomachenko, great shout as well for a fighter that could have fought in any era. Usyk, who else? Canelo, I guess, could have fucking fought at any era. Like, whether they dominated or won world titles or not is fucking up for debate.
I wouldn't. Not enough info on him yet. Not enough info on Haney.
But when you see guys like from the past that are rated, like, say, at welterweight, like Marlon Starling, Mark Breland, Don Curry, those guys, I think Crawford could have operated at that level for sure.
You mean in the 80s?
Or the 80s,
he could have operated in the 80s?
Yeah, well, the 80s was a golden era for welterweights, asshole.
90s was even quality, man. You were all jacked up on steroids.
Jacked the fuck in the 90s as well. Yeah, there's a couple of fighters around at the moment that you'd have to say, based off the eye test, would have been able to compete against greats gone by.
I'll tell you, Hall of Famers, though. It was Hall of Famers. The question was,
I'll tell you who I think you're recently retired, but I think who could have competed at lightweight.
Ward is another one. Sorry,
any era was Shane Mosley. Like, Shane Mosley as a fucking lightweight was fucking violent.
He was brilliant as a lightweight. Although, look at the level of see, the thing is, Michael Thompson throws one in there, Prime Crusher. I don't know, because we didn't see the Prime Crusher against such a high level of opposition over such a consistent period of time to suggest that he could have done. It was brilliant, Prime Crusher, but I don't think we saw enough of it to know.
Same with Mosley at 135 as well, when you mentioned the Crusher.
Exactly, yeah.
I didn't really have the opponents at 135. And then when he went up against Forrest, it was dominated over the 2 fights. Hurt as well, dropped.
I think that Andre Ward would have... Ward would have competed in that era of like James Toney, Roy Jones, McCallum, going on up into like 175. He could have competed with Tarver, no problem. Glenn Johnson, no problem. He could have held his own in that era for sure.
Tarver came late. Don't forget as well. He didn't turn pro till he's about 38, did he?
Yeah, he went to the Olympics, I think, in
late, 96 Atlanta,
and he was like 27 or something at the time.
Oh, was he? I thought he turned pro really late, like well into his 30s.
No, because he was. I think he was like 35 when he beat Roy Jones, and that was 2003. So that would line up. Because he was only a few years younger than Bernard Hopkins when they thought, wasn't he? Hopkins could have competed in any era. Yeah. He is such a clever fucking fighter. He could have competed any era of middleweights, 100%.
I was going to say, is it just one weight? It's not multi-weight. So what about someone like David Hay at cruiserweight?
Cruiserweight has such a long lifespan. That's why kind of tough on the cruiserweight, right? It's only been around since 85. So could David Hay have competed with Evander Holyfield and Kawi?
Yeah, but they've been competitive. Well,
competitive, but it's difficult because you have to see them against all different styles. I feel longevity, which is why Irvin's picks lend themselves more to it because we saw them over a period of time, quality and consistency, didn't we?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, Whitaker's. I mean, he's one of the fucking best lightweights of all time. Like him against Duran is at lightweight is like one of my fucking great fantasy fights.
Well, more appreciated now, I'd say, Whitaker than then. He could hardly draw flies to shit at the time, but now I think we often appreciate him a lot more than he was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of some domestic level fighters that might have been able to compete. But yeah, again, I think the question was made around guys that's in the hall. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
but
guys
that
have that level.
Hall of Fame, any like.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean?
I think it's pretty simple, isn't it? It's the elite of the elite, basically, the real stars, and anyone below that is kind of questionable.
Oscar.
See, Oscar though lost a lot of the big ones, didn't he? Even though I'm a massive Oscar fan.
He would have fought them though. He would have
fought them, absolutely.
Yeah,
100%.
No, that era at welterweight was fucking fantastic. I mean, those guys. There's some great fighters in there. Tito was
welterweight, mate. 147,
welterweight,
154.
Tito's
if you're saying that De La Hoya could, then Tito could. I guess.
Tito's surely been retired long enough to be in the Hall of Fame himself now. Has he? Yeah.
I don't know if he is in the hall yet, to be fair, but
I think Pacquiao could have competed at just about any era of featherweights.
I was just going to say Pacquiao then. Steve's right. You know, you got like the elite of the elite, but then someone like, say, like Ricky Hatton, for example, you probably wouldn't put him up there. It might be competitive, but actually, you know, or would you say like he could compete at any level at, you know, at 140?
Aaron Pryor would beat the living flying fuck out of him.
Dr. FMG mentions Costas Yu, and I love Sue, but I don't know. You know, I don't know them fighters. Big ass.
I was going to say that weight though, mate. See 140. That goes back to like Benny Leonard and what's his name?
It's what I mean.
Lynch.
I go as far as saying they're not even comparable, you know, because it goes so far back and things. It's just completely. It's kind of like completely changed, you know, from where they were operating, you know, like at 15 rounds to 12. What do you judge it off? Do you judge it off at 15 or at 12? You know, it was just completely different. And Steve's right, you know. I think you can say the elite of the elite, without a doubt, and then the rest of them, whilst they might have been, you know, like unified world champions and fantastic fighters, it's harder to say as you know, could they have competed? So one that you could throw out there, for example, who, you know, might well be in the Hall of Fame. What about Timothy Bradley? For example, Timothy Bradley.
Timothy Bradley is a champion at certain times, but he is a great fucking gatekeeper for the championship in just about any era. I mean, he's fantastic.
If you were to put Tim Bradley back in the 70s, he would be like a Benny Briscoe type guy, possibly, because of the opportunity for belts. He would have fought everybody, but Bradley was definitely a very underrated fighter, underappreciated fighter, I think.
He missed the chance to fight Floyd by re-signing his Top Rank agreement, didn't he, towards the end of his career? And I think that's a fight I would have loved to see, Bradley versus Floyd.
The Can fight fell apart because he was trying to get out of his contract with Gary Shaw at the time as well.
Yeah.
And Can was with Golden Boy, possibly, maybe a free agent, possibly by that point. I can't mind, but Bradley was just in that transitionary period trying to get his management stuff fixed out as well.
But I think Aram had so many fighters, didn't he? He had Alvarado, he had what's his name? My man Brandon Rios, fucking Provodnikov, like he had Manny, he had.
That was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the time where Aram had all the fucking welterweights, and then Al was like, "Fuck that, I'm getting every welterweight going." So fucking Terrence Crawford could go free somewhere.
See, the thing about Bradley, though, guys, is I look at him and Ward kind of in the same way. Is they're two fighters who were so much more than the sum of their parts. You know, between their desire to win and their boxing brain, they were far better than what they visibly looked like. It's just very hard to quantify like where they exist. Just because, I mean, like. Pacquiao was the only guy that proved that he could really beat Bradley. I mean, honestly, so that Provodnikov fight. I mean, I've been over that a million times. Like that was kind of a one-off because Bradley was so pissed off with the way he was treated after that first Manny fight. But anyways, getting a little off topic there. Steve Anderson throwing in a 10 spot there. Thank you very much, Steve. Appreciate that. I'll tell you, let me throw this one at you guys. And Oz, you'll appreciate this because I think you appreciate American sports a little bit more than the rest of the guys. You also have those Bo Jackson kind of people where some freak thing happens and you saw so much talent, but they were never able to really hit their peak, despite everything that you saw up until that moment. And even though he fought on after that, and this is going back some years, that fight with Chavez took so much out of Meldrick Taylor. But that guy on raw talent alone, I mean, before that fight, I think he had the skill set to compete with anyone. I mean, that fight just wrecked him.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. There's a good, for the Patreon listeners and people who are not yet subscribers to Patreon, there's a good punches from the past that myself, Steve, and Andy did, I think, on that one. The Taylor Chavez fight. But certainly, he was one of the, he was the closest thing, and even maybe had this might be controversial, but maybe had a style that was probably even easier on the eye than Ray Leonard. He was fucking, Meldrick Taylor was unbelievable. And even those moments he was having in the fight against Chavez, he was ringing off the fucking combos on his head. He was fucking sensational. I haven't seen anything as good as that since, even in terms of hand speed and combinations and flashy style and that. Floyd was brilliant.
Roy Jones.
Brilliant at 135. Roy, obviously, but Taylor was different, man. The fucking speed of those his hand speed was fucking frightening. Maybe Gary Russell has similar hand speed, but he's no way near the level of talent that Taylor had at that stage. Olympic golden boy. It's just such a pity when we talk about that he didn't have his moment, regardless of the fight fucking record. He should have had his moment, and Lou Duva definitely played his part in that. And I saw Taylor later on accuse Chavez of fucking loaded gloves that night, which probably would be consistent with the type of injuries that he sustained in the fight, but not to take anything away from Chavez, he got the job done. But yeah, I'd agree with you. Taylor was fucking sensational fighter, man. Really, really good.
Can you guys think of any of those other guys where it was kind of a what might have been?
Tony Ayala. Remember him?
Yeah.
Ended
up a smackhead, didn't he?
Yeah, so he was Tony Ayala was one of the fastest rising middleweight prospects in the early mid-80s, and he was due to fight Davy Moore for the title, and he ended up getting done. He was smackhead and alcohol. He got done for rape and sexual assault. I think that's who he ended up losing it on the Davy Moore fight, and that's when Roberto Duran stepped in. This guy knocked a guy out in the ring and fucking went there and spat in his face as he's trying to get back up on his knees. This guy was just pent up aggression, allegations of sexual abuse on himself and that type of thing as well. So that guy, if, as I says, what might have been, Edwin Valero's another one actually. Don't think he would end up undefeated, but what he would have been in any fight. But if Pacquiao beats him, so what? That guy would have made it an absolute fucking bloodbath by a bloodfest.
So Rob mentioned Spadafora. You talk about a guy who accomplished a shit ton well on drugs, and you're like, what the fuck would he have been without them? Yeah, Johnny Tapia.
Ibeabuchi's the classic one, isn't he?
Oh, he's gonna get match started.
I'd love Ibeabuchi, but Johnny Tapia, man, if that guy could have steered clear of fucking drugs and partying and shit, fuck me.
If Mike Tyson was able to stay champ for a lengthy period, like domination, like Klitschko, for example, like years, like Lennox Lewis and Ali and Lewis, who were all fucking Joe Lewis, that is, who were all long-standing, defending champions. Tyson's peak was here and there. That guy should have fucking dominated for like close to a decade with his skill set.
Well, here's one for you, Matty. You might remember this guy's name. I've mentioned him on the pod before. Kelsey Banks. Sounds like a porn star, but he's not. He was a boxer, US Olympian and he fought in the Seoul Games in '88 in Korea. I was kind of paying close attention because the guy who's the US national coach now, Billy Walsh, was fighting in that Olympics. It was the same one where Roy Jones got hosed and Billy fell victim to a similar result against the Korean. But Kelsey Banks was the US fighter that everybody was talking about. He was going to be the next fucking breakout star from the US. You know, black guy, flashy style, lovely on his feet, side to side movement, and he got absolutely fucking obliterated, iced by a Dutch guy. I think his name was Regilo Thorough, big puncher anyway, absolutely flattened him in the first round. That was the end of him. But who knows what he would have. It looked like he would have had a good style for the pros, but obviously was had a bit of a glass if you get knocked out in the amateurs. But yeah, he was a good, talented guy.
What about some of the Cuban guys? What about like Savone and Stevenson? What if they were able to fucking jump off that fucking island?
TFO Stevenson's always the one that's kind of like fascinated me because that guy just had god power in that right hand. But forget how much was it? $5 million offered him to fight Ali. Walked it back.
And that was like in like 1970 something dollars. That's insane, though.
My dad was convinced that Stevenson would have beaten Clay, as he called him, because he always just called him fucking Clay, but he said he would have beaten him. Like
his mama called him Clay, I'm gonna call him Clay.
Yeah. So my dad was convinced that Stevenson told me the story about him turning down the money and that, but he was convinced that he had the style to beat him. But I don't know about that. Like my dad thought Michael Spinks was going to beat Mike Tyson, you know, that way.
I've seen a bit of Stevenson's amateur fights, and he was very, very upright. So you think like if he's fighting like a Mike Tyson who maybe kind of roll underneath and come up over the top, you probably catch him with the chin in the air. But it says when he hit guy in the amateurs, man, he was fucking erasing them. It wasn't like your shitty fucking like your guy's taking too many shots and it's a fucking standing count, for example. You know, he's fucking properly icing these guys.
All right. Well, we got all that. So thank you very much for that question. We're going to move on. We got some previews here. It's kind of light, nothing super interesting, but there are fights going. Got a couple of them in the predictions, and we'll hit them up as we get there. One that's not in there because I'm pretty sure I know how everyone thinks this is going to go. 112-pound battle. Sonny Edwards defending his IBF belt against Felix Alvarado. Andy, going to lean on you for this one. This is your weight division expertise area, so give us a heads up on this fight.
I think Ozzy probably want to say in it as well.
He knows his Sonny Edwards very well. Very true.
It's free on Fight TV for anybody that's interested next Friday. Alvarado, he's obviously legit champion in his day in that as well. But I just think Sonny's just going to does what he does best. Just pop, move, use the legs. So I'm expecting Sonny to make it not so much an easy 12-round decision, but I think he'll be made to work for it, in spots, because it says Alvarado he can bang. So I'd imagine he'll be very, very cautious, very, very cagey, not to get involved with him too much. So yeah, I'm going to go with Edwards on 116, 112 type decision, I think.
Oz, you thinking around the same thing?
I really rate Sonny Edwards. I know he's not everybody's cup of tea in terms of personality and stuff like that, but I think as a fighter, I think he's quality. I really, really rate him. I think he's the best in his division by a considerable distance, to be honest. I think he's one of them as well who could probably drop down to light fly, but realistically, it's probably not the financial appeal there for him to do that. He could definitely go up to super fly as well. And he wouldn't shock me if he could compete at bantamweight as well further down in his career. But yeah, I can't say I've seen truckloads from his opponent. He can clearly punch. Edwards doesn't have that dig to really get people out of there. So he'll do what he does best. He's been in with big punchers before, Maruti Matalani can really dig, and his power is, is certainly legit at the weight. But he never
touched Sonny, though. He never touched Sonny.
Exactly, and this is the way I see, this fight going on Friday night as well. I think it'll be very much, Edwards getting in and out, landing, the cleaner shots. When I say eye-catching, more, just like quick, 1, 2, 3 out of the way before, Alvarado can really land anything. The better fight, actually, is on the undercard, which is between there's two, actually. Thomas Asomba against Marcel Braithwaite. I think Asomba's going to stop Braithwaite, to be honest. I really rate Asomba. He's better than his record suggests. He's very much been in the away corner. I think he's only ever been stopped once, and that was off, I want to say, Lee McGregor in the 12th, and that was back in 2018. But for me, he's given Sonny Edwards his hardest fight today. He gave Mark Leach a really difficult fight in Dennis Hobson's Sheffield Arena car park. He was beating Thomas Patrick Ward until, when it was called a draw on the cards, which was incredibly unfortunate. I had him well ahead in that fight. And he's only lost to, likes of Jay Harris, European champions, stuff like that. So I think I'll be looking out. Asomba's a favourite at 8-11, so it's a good one for the accumulators. The method of victory prices aren't out yet, but they'll be out probably towards Thursday-ish, Wednesday, Thursday. So I'll be looking at the stoppage for that. And then another good fight as well is Jack Bateson against Shabazz Massoud. I thought this was for the English title, but it looks like there's just one of these random WBA belts on the line. But again, really good domestic fight. Massoud should win. I really rate him. Neither of them have really got any power. Bateson was with GB for a while. Not sure how he medalled, but he was part of that setup for a little while. As for Massoud, suffered a lot with, he was really active in 2018 and 19 when he turned over, and then it just started to slow down. He didn't box in 2020, had a couple of fights, in 2021, and he boxed earlier this year as well. So activity's been okay. I'm not sure who trains him anymore, but might well be a boxer-sized Ben. So yeah, he's back on the cameras on Friday, but I think he'll have far too much for Bateson, to be honest. And then I'm not 100% sure about this guy, but Herbert Souza, was he like a Brazilian Olympian or something like that? Or apparently, I don't know how he's wound up on this card. It's completely left field, unless he's one of Richard Schaefer's proteges. But yeah, he's also on the card along with there's various others, but they've not been matched yet. So yeah. All in all, top three fights are pretty decent, and I think wins for Edwards and Asomba and Shabazz Massoud.
Excellent. So that might actually be an entertaining undercard going on there. Jumping over, there is a card on DAZN, going to be headlined by Montana Love against Steve Spark, the Australian, back down at his more natural weight of 140 pounds. He did fight and get knocked out by Tim Tszyu at 154. Definitely not where he belongs. Also on that card, undefeated Christian Tapia going in against Thomas Matisse. Then you have Richardson Hitchens undefeated going against once defeated, once drawn Yomar Alamo. And undefeated Raymond Ford going in against once defeated, once drawn Zakaria Lucas. So not a bad card on there. A couple of 140-pound fights, 130-pound fight, and a featherweight fight. So that could be all right there. Anyone want to touch on Montana Love and his goofy-ass dog before we head on?
Nope. I mean, the fight, you can't even sell it out.
Can't even sell it ringside in the commission.
I was going to say, yeah. I've even sold a row of tickets. Never mind 100 tickets. I think somebody said that they've sold less than 5%. I mean, that is just awful.
Apparently Montana Love was kicking about an event during the week there with his belt over his shoulder.
With his belt. I think he was at like I don't know if it was basketball or baseball or something like that. But yeah, he was there just mooching about with his belt over his. He should have took a load of tickets and just give them away. At least there'll be some people watching. But yeah, I think I saw something that they've started to lay out the arena from where they sell like a row, then leave a row empty and sell another row. And apparently it makes it look fuller. But yeah, I think they're hoping for a superior walk-up on the gate for the fight. But yeah, terrible. Hearn's just misjudged it, hasn't he, completely? Yeah, completely got it wrong. I mean, less than 5%. Fucking hell, that is awful. I mean, I've been at the small hall shows where, there's like 400 people there. But they're like dinner shows. So actually, they're not that bad, because it's full up with like tables and bits and pieces and stuff. there's nothing like this here. It's just going to be like, what they're going to do.
It's going to be like fucking Bradley versus Alexander when it was in a fucking place that could hold 90,000 people and they had to scale it down to 4.
Well, I'll tell you what, I reckon Don King's show for Trevor Bryan against Daniel Dubois would have sold more tickets than this one. And that was in like some school hall in a random area in America.
See that fight that Matty just mentioned there, was that one between Bradley and Alexander. There was like 1,000 people turn up for it, right? It was held in the Pontiac Silverdome in Detroit, Michigan. It's like an 80,000. It was the home of the Detroit Lions back in the fucking 80s before they knocked it down. 80,000 capacity, and they basically got, there's advertisement boards basically running about the kind of seating areas to try and basically, they're probably going for fuck all.
Yeah, I was going to say it gets to a stage now where they've just got to give them out. I'd just be giving them away. Just give them to go around schools, that sort of stuff. Give them to
the boxing clubs in the area and all.
Yeah, exactly. Give them to schools, colleges, boxing clubs.
Get
just
cardboard cutouts at ringside of people eating pizza, like they're done during COVID.
You can buy a cardboard cutout to stick on your seat, but you can't attend.
If this was in the UK, Steve, what do you think they'd be doing ringside? They wouldn't be eating pizza. What other cuisine do you think would be recommended?
Ordering Chinese in, yeah.
Better on a 3-way.
Fish and chips.
Fucking burger.
5%, less than 5%.
Matty, I was going to say there are a couple of points of interest on this card if it goes ahead. Richardson Hitchens, who didn't get any love from Showtime, has moved over to Eddie. He's very technically good fighter. He beat Malik Hawkins, but he's very boring to watch. And also Sakaria Lucas, who you mentioned, he actually fought to a draw with King Tug in his last fight. It's him against Raymond Ford. That's actually a good fight. There's a couple of decent little 50-50 scraps on the undercard.
Yeah, it's a decent card with a few decent fights on there. Not terrible from Eddie at all. It's a shame that there's only going to be about 150 people there to see it. Boo-hoo, right?
Taking over America.
20 people
to
at a time.
America to fail.
So, and then jumping over y'all's direction there. Got a 154-pound women's clash between Natasha Jonas and Marie-Eve Dakar, and then also a 154-pound clash on the men's side of the bracket between Dalton Smith and Casey Benjamin, which I decided to throw into the prediction league. Well, so, Mr. Leader,
easy that one.
No, you wait. Mr. Leader Steve leading Andy now by 3 points. Why don't you give me your pick on Dalton Smith versus Casey Benjamin?
Well, I'm off to a good start here. I thought Dalton Smith was fighting on Eddie's turf on own or something, so I'm struggling a bit on that one. Let me see.
Peduardo lost the purse bid for this, so Ben Shalom won it for boxer.
Oh,
so yeah, so it's a Sky show. Dalton Smith is still with Peduardo and DAZN at the moment, but he's back on Sky.
Casey Benjamin will get stopped. I'm going for Dalton Smith KO.
All right. Andy.
What?
Smith versus Benjamin.
Mate, I don't give a shit. I'm in Norway next weekend, so I'll be on the fucking drink.
But
Saturday
you're
night.
Only 3 points behind, so
well, I'll put a prediction in. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it on over to my esteemed colleague Oliver, because I know he's going to have a lot to say, and I'll base my opinion off that.
You can't do it. You don't get to choose the order.
So what's the question?
Are you Dalton Smith against Casey Benjamin? Winner and how?
I'm going to go Dalton Smith, and I am going to go by stoppage.
All right. Rob. Rob? Did he leave us?
No, I'm still here. Let me see. Benjamin has lost to Sam Evans by unanimous decision. Really don't know what fucking level the two of these are operating. He's got wins over Winston Campos. I'm going to go Dalton Smith on points.
Dalton Smith on points. All right.
Sam Evans got knocked out in 3 rounds by Denzel Bentley, I'm pretty sure, a few fights ago. So that's not a good look for Benjamin as well. So I reinforced my pick.
All right. I'm also going to go with the stoppage option on that one. Oz, now you can make your point on this one, because I know this is your area of expertise, and I do expect you're probably going to win the first portion of next year's prediction league, which will be in weeks, not a year.
Yeah, well, to be honest, everybody's gone with what I would say. Dalton Smith will win this. He's a level above Kaiser Benjamin without a doubt. I think he'll get him out of there. Benjamin looks relatively, he's got like a bit about him, but then I think there's that random. He's not been. I mean, who beat him actually? Oh yeah, bloody hell! Yeah, I didn't realize he lost to that Sam Evans though. Albeit though Evans did go up in weight to fight Denzel Bentley. But yeah, and then he had a draw with that Danny Ball as well, who we've seen on a couple of Warren shows as well. He got knocked out off Echo Esserman. So, look, triangle theories don't always work, but I think when it comes to this, I can base enough off it. And Dalton Smith is a level above. I think he's class. I think he's going right to the top. I think he's been matched extremely well. They've kept him active. I mean, this is what we want to see. This is his 4th fight this year. It's nigh on unheard of. He had 3 fights in 2021, 2 fights in 2020. You wouldn't have even said there's a pandemic happening there, where a lot of fighters didn't even box once, but he's been able to stay active and, operate at a decent level as well. His power's legit, certainly domestically. Knocked out the likes of Lee Appleyard, Ray Moyler, absolutely battered Sam O'Maison back in August. So, yeah, I think he's going to get Benjamin out of there. Don't think it'll be early. I think it'll be in the second half of the fight, but I think he'll look really good in doing it, and he'll deservedly become a British champion. I then hope he doesn't just chuck it away straight away. I'd like to see him defend it a couple of times before moving up to European level. The women's fight, I couldn't really care about it, to be honest. I mean, I have no idea who this Mary Eve DeCare is. She's lost to the Goat.
Yeah, she fought the Goat, didn't she? That's right.
Yeah, so does everybody. Everybody loses to her, so there's no shame in that.
She fought on a Canada card recently against one of the worst women boxers I've ever seen, man. She was fucking terrible.
Cynthia Lozano,
yeah,
Mexican Cynthia. Yeah. She scored a 7-round TKO win over Cynthia. But yeah, I know fuck all about her, but she can't knock the skin off a rice pudding. 1 KO. And yeah, she knocked out that fucking Lozano. Fucking hell, right? Yeah. And Jonas, I'll still say she's not a 154, but it just shows, the lack of depth at women's level. I'm just solely going to be naive and pick Jonas to win that. Another good fight, Tyler Denny against Brad Ray. Brad Ray is making a bit of a name for himself on Sky, actually. Again, one of them staying active. This is his 4th fight now in 2022. Had 2 last year as well. Slowly stepping him up in the levels. Denny, is that, relatively steady operator around the, like the English, British, Commonwealth level. Seems to really, aside from he beat River Wilson Bent last time out, which was really, really close, does get pipped in, in the close ones, when lost a majority decision to Linus Adofia, got knocked out by Reece Cartwright from memory. I think that was back in 2018. That might have been on a Steve Wood show, I think. Either that or it would have been what they call BCB show as well. I would suspect Ray will win this. Probably on points. I don't think he'll get him out of there. Couple of others. Fraser Clark is. It sounds bizarre, really. He's probably in his toughest test yet. He fights Kamil Sokolowski, providing it's still going ahead. Clark should have more than enough to beat Sokolowski, given the level he's at. However, we've always said Sokolowski is, he's live all the time, and he does come to win. He's not, deterred by anybody, and he doesn't make it easy. Otto Warling didn't have it all his own way with him, which shows that, when he fancies it, it can be a difficult night's work. I think Clark will win, though. I'll be impressed if he can stop him. That would be a statement. at this stage. You know, if you can get Sokolowski out of there, not many people do that. I think Gorman did it ages ago. That Bakadir Jalalov did it, beat him up more than anything. So it's rare that you'll see him get him out of there. And then one that I think could be an upset, Jordan Ellison beating Dylan Chima. Not sold on Dylan Chima. He won. Pretty sure he won the that prize fighter thing that they do. I'm pretty sure he won that. But I think if the Ryland Charlton fight would have been 6 rounds or 8 rounds, Charlton would have beaten him. So yeah, Jordan Ellison. Provided, I hope it's over 6 or 8 rounds. Ellison's miles better than his record suggests. Realistically, if he had a bit of backing, could probably win an English title. With a promoter, guiding him in the right direction. Lost a really close decision to Reese Mould, earlier this month. Decent fighter is Ellison. Won titles, area titles. I think he's boxed for an English as well. And when he fancies it, he definitely comes to win, and I think he'll definitely fancy this one. Will probably be on telly as well. So yeah, I think you'll get a generous price on Ellison. Not saying go and put your mortgage on it or big money, but I think he's worth an outside bet because Chima, for me, he just isn't that good, and he's not got the power to hurt Ellison. I think if you can't hurt these, like these journeymen early from where they might just go into a shell because they might have a couple of fights, lined up for next month. I think he'll go for it, and Ellison will keep coming forward and might just outwork him. So yeah, it's not a bad card from Sky. I think it lacks probably one more, big domestic fight or a European level fight, but it's okay. Realistically, it's nothing special, but it's by no means terrible from some of the shit that we have seen this year as well.
True enough. We have definitely seen some shit. Over in the United States, top rank card. The return of Sinisa Estrada, 105 pounds, defending her title against Yasmin Gala Villarino. Headlining that, Janabek Alamhanala versus Denzel Bentley. I believe that's the WBO belt on the line. Could be wrong. Doesn't even really matter. Does it? No, all these belts are fake. Does anybody think that Alamkhanuli is not going to stop Bentley?
No, he will stop him.
All right. Steve, what round are you thinking it's going to happen in?
6 or 7. I like Denzel, friend of the pod, but yeah, he's going to go the same way as Danny Dignam. I'll say 6.
Andy, what are you thinking? Andy.
Sorry, mate. What was the question? Sorry.
What round do you think Alam Hanala is going to stop Denzel Bentley?
I'll go for about round 6.
Same as Steve. Okay. Rob? Rob, are you there or did you leave?
I left.
Okay.
That's why I'm answering. I think he'll probably stop him around 4. I think it's going to be early night.
Okay. I was thinking 4 or 5 myself. Oz, what round do you think that Alam Hanala might stop Bentley?
I'm with Rob. I think the way Felix Cash just blitzed out Denzel Bentley is a big telling factor in this. Bentley's bounced back really well. Beat what's it called? Beat Sam Evans, who we were talking about, funnily enough, before. Then beat Linus Adolfo and then bullied Marcus Morrison. But we're talking levels here, and they're all good, steady domestic fighters. I rate Felix Cash, and I think he's a decent European level operator at the moment. Alim Kanuli is certainly a world level operator, albeit he's not got those prize wins. But what he showed, there's no dicking around with him, and he'll get people out of there who he's better than. Danny Dignam had no business being in there whatsoever, and he's not as good as Denzel Bentley, without a doubt. Bentley might have wised up a little bit from the Cash fight, learned from, actually getting hit clean. Can he hold on, that sort of stuff? But I don't see him, taking it into the second half of the fight. So yeah, I'm with Rob Brown, 4 or 5.
All right. So given that information, I'm going to set the over-under at 4.5 rounds, which means 90 seconds of the 5th round. So, Steve, you going over?
Sorry, help me. What do I do again?
It's over-under. It's 4.5 rounds. So that's 90 seconds into the 5th round. Is it going to go longer than that?
God.
You said
That's
6.
right. I know, but I'm having second thoughts now because Denzel's really easy to hit.
Don't make me move the line, you son of a bitch.
Sorry. Keep the line where it is.
Okay.
Over. Over.
Andy.
What was over, mate?
4.5 rounds.
I'll go under.
God damn it, you said 6 before.
Yeah, I know, but
I fucking
on the line. Can you go on the line?
I fucking hate all of you. I want you to know that.
Oh, I bet you're taking Bentley by stoppage, you fucking chaser.
I hate all of you. I wish nothing but the bad things in life to happen to you and nobody but you. So fuck off. Rob, over under 4.5 full rounds.
I'm gonna go. So it's about 90 seconds into the 4th round. 5th round. Oh yeah. I'll go with the under.
Okay, I'm also going the under. Jesus Christ. Just give me all this information and then you fucking contradict yourselves. You fucking kill me. You kill me. But anyways, so that Mrs. Wellington doesn't kill Steve, I guess we better move it over to the value of the week.
I'm going to be killing someone in a minute if this internet keeps failing. Bad night tonight, Matthew. I think there's some Fortnite going on. Bit of tactic.
I think it's time you build a shed in the backyard for the children and force them to learn how to rough it.
He's going to start doing a fucking Fred and Rose West, man, digging graves in the backyard.
Get him a fucking cell plan with unlimited data. Here's your hotspot, motherfuckers. Have fun.
Well, I do live on a 50-acre farm, so I think I could get away with it.
There you go.
Aye, for a few years.
Here's an oldie but a goodie. What's this? Fred and Rose putting the kids to bed.
Savage.
Jade can't. You know what I'm saying?
Steve, I don't want to give you any crazy ideas, but have you ever read Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal?
Not recently.
Okay, I'm just go back over it. It's an option.
Jonathan Swift, you're going back about 400 years there, aren't you, Matty?
250-ish, I think.
All right, okay. Sorry. Anyway.
it was during the famine in Ireland, and I know that doesn't narrow it down exactly, but it was a big one.
Right, okay.
Back in 20s.
Exactly. Leave that one alone. Anyway, back up to the value of the week, comedy section of episode 499.
Well, thank God it's coming from somewhere, Steve. You know what
I mean? Exactly. Well, I'll tell you what, Rappy Rob Kelly, you'll like this one. I was listening to Boxing Social during the week, as I tend to do from time to time. Some fantastic interviews over there. And friend of the pod, he's become a friend. Anyway, Anthony Croller was on, and they were asking him some questions. And Anthony, over on Planet TV, took the conversation in a rather strange direction.
Today, I am delighted to be joined by former lightweight world champion Anthony Croller. How are you?
Before we start, I would like to point out why I have made yet another Madeleine McCann film. It is to expose the mainstream media and show to the widest possible audience that their purpose is not to find out facts, investigate stories, then truthfully report them. The mainstream media are used on a daily basis across all publications by an elite few for a range of nefarious purposes. Mainstream media publications are no more than information prostitutes who serve those with enough money or power to help them with their disgusting agendas.
All right.
Woo! Rob, has he been subscribing to your newsletter?
Oh my God, that's fucking amazing, man. Brilliant. And fuck Neil Sanders, by the way.
Another productive week at work.
Mr. Wellington.
Oh, that is Wellington classic. That is. Look, honestly, I said that before. Only about 12 people will get that joke. But if you know who fucking Richard D. Hall is, and you go Google a picture of him right now and see the way Crolla is looking these days, he looks a lot like him, and he makes a lot of good content. But apparently, they're coming after him now for his fucking. He's a bit of a Manchester bombing denier. We'll never forget.
Oh, yes. Fun and games. It's all fun and games until someone gets hurt, Matty. Not on this card anyway. The Elkins Fight Night, Valid Boxing Promotions.
Fucking hell.
VPB. Forget about Joe Joyce. Here's Matt the Juggernaut Garrettson from Charlestown, West Virginia.
But wait a minute here. Wait a minute. Before Ozzy starts the fat shame and starts fucking gagging on these fucking graphics of Mr. King here in the middle. But look where it's getting held. 142 Robert E. Lee Boulevard. Anybody who know who is Robert E. Lee?
Yeah, Civil War general.
Yeah, fucking Confederate, wasn't he?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's what the South is. My stepdad is from a town that was 15 miles outside of Leesville. It's a very common name in the South. They're very proud of that man for some reason.
Yeah.
It's only $15 to get in. Here, Ozzy. What about
What a rip-off.
The over-under on whether they'll have more people at this fight or Eddie's Montana Love card?
Montana Love. I'm going to say this fight. Put me down in the prediction league for this fight.
I mean, you'd pay tickets to watch Matt the Juggernaut Garrettson, wouldn't you? So without a doubt. I mean, he's fighting in his hometown as well. You know, Charlestown, West Virginia. You know, beautiful place. I mean, look at those tattoos as well. Fucking hell.
Amazing artwork.
That's terrible, isn't it?
Jonathan,
got those for art, honestly.
He's going to drop the hammer on him.
Look at the flag at the top right. It's like something off clip art, isn't it? It's fucking awful.
I tell you what, right? In comparison to Montana Love, at least some of the fellas on this poster look like they could draw flies.
Jonathan the Sniper Sledge.
Victor Antonucci.
Why
I tell you what, you've got a guy here called Suarez. His first name you can barely make it. Look, it's hidden underneath his fucking jacket there. But I think it's Marcos. It says.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. In the bottom left, you can barely fucking make out his name.
Look at Victor Antonucci there, Andy.
And Oz, you will be pleased to know at the very bottom, in very small print, tickets at the door or purchase online. So you can just walk up, guys, hand your card. You probably be able to sneak in the fire escape actually for fucking free money.
I'd love to know what the premium ticket is, and then the ringside. I wonder if they're chucking anything in.
Comes with Chinese food with the Juggernaut.
It'll be a fucking seat at ringside and a fucking gammy of some toothless granny in the fucking toilet.
Fuck's sake.
Anyway,
I like the way your man's name is Benjamin I Drogo. I bet you do, pal. Brutalmente.
Honesto.
Ivan Drago. Conor Benn's team have moved clarified they only began working with Dr. Usman Sajjad in August, despite the doctor appearing to suggest their relationship predated the first of his 2 failed drugs tests in July. I'm with Eddie here, Andy. No lies.
No lies, mate. Full transparency at all times. I think someone even managed to find a picture of Conor Benn receiving a Versace gift from said doctor. Yeah.
The said doctor.
Eddie said it.
The said doctor attended fight camp as part of Team Ben.
I don't know if this guy was working with Ben because he got popped. I think he was working with Dr. Joseph Adeo, not fucking Dr. Usman.
What I will say, Larry O was saying that this guy isn't involved. He was taking it very categorically as well, actually. So, don't know if he's just like been brought in to try and help, explain something. I don't know about that. I don't know if he's given them something. I don't know if he's been brought in for advice purposes only.
Yeah, I think he might have been brought into mop up some mess or something. Yeah, I agree with that. To be fair, Anthony Fowler said that a while ago when it first broke. He knows this husband guy, and he said that he's been brought in to be made to look a scapegoat. And when you actually think about it, they probably did work together beforehand. But when did Ben fail that first test? Was it in June or something? June, July?
Yeah.
Which I think, they might well have done something a while ago, but then he's come back on the scene. Perfect timing.
The thing is, it doesn't make them the move look any less nefarious, no matter what way you look at it. Because if he wasn't working with him before he fucking popped, and then he starts working with him after, and this is the guy who's made the claims that anyone who fucking gets caught open is an idiot. So basically, he's fucking coming with a certain set of expertise, like Liam Neeson in Taken. Anyway, you know what I mean? He will find you and he will fucking pass your VADA test. So I don't know, man. It's fucking. It's not a PR flex anyway. Definitely not.
Yeah. Ben using the egg.
Speaking of boss, by the way, look at
that. Fucking
Ben using Conor Ben using the egg argument as well, where he said, I've eaten contaminated eggs. Spencer Oliver did an interview, and apparently you need to get that amount of clomiphene in your body. You would need to eat 30 eggs a day for a considerable amount of time. That's over 200 eggs a week. That is just, I don't think the human body could do that. Or you could do, but you'd be fucking permanently on the...
That's what I was saying. I was watching a documentary about the bodybuilders, and there was a bodybuilder 240, and he was on steroids as well. And in addition to being on steroids, he was eating 100 eggs a week. He's 6'2" and 240 pounds.
100, I think he said, mate.
He was 150 a week. And he was 240 and 6'2". And on steroids.
So Conor Ben will be eating another 60 eggs to get that amount of clomiphene in his body. So, and that's in comparison to a 6'3" bodybuilder who's on steroids as well. So yeah, I think the egg argument is no more, if that's the case.
I've been ignorant here, right? But see when I hear like 200 eggs a week, I'm thinking fucking fried egg. I'm not thinking about like it's like Rocky just fucking cracking the egg open, put it in a glass, and fucking swallowing it. You know. I'm talking about fried egg with your fucking beans and chips, or your fucking bacon, or whatever, and that lot of sausage.
Scrambled egg.
Why the fuck do you guys eat beans for breakfast? I still never fucking understand that.
That's good shit, man. You're hungover.
Because they're fucking lovely.
That's gravy when you're hungover, like I'm telling you.
I had some this morning, actually, after a fucking nice hangover.
Well, food connoisseurs on this podcast now, and we owe it all to one bloke, don't we?
I know, I'm coming off the fucking pod every week, fucking starving, man. I fucking go making sandwiches at 11 o'clock at night now.
I'm getting Aussie an order for fucking Chinese the other week there. Wasn't Oz?
Yeah, that's true.
Jesus Christ.
Oh dear. Anyway, here's one for you, Matty. You know we had to ask on Halloween, who's the scariest boxer of all time? Nikolai Valuev, Sonny Liston, Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Bernard Hopkins, Roberto Duran, Dillian White.
Fucking hell.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know if it's anyone from that one.
That's a troll.
They're good troll accounts, aren't they? Them.
Yeah.
What about what about that fucking cat that fought Tyson and ended up in jail for murder?
Reggie Gross.
Was there two? Didn't Etienne go into jail for?
Oh, Cliff Etienne, yeah, that's right.
So what? Yeah,
he wasn't scary looking, man. He had bigger boobies than fucking what's his name, Bosch, didn't he? Fucking Clifford Eddie. They shook when Tyson hit him with the fucking right hand, didn't it?
It depends what I'm saying is scary. I mean, fucking that. Do you remember that Avtandil Kurt Sidzu ended up getting locked up?
Yeah.
Cut 14 pounds of heroin, nice and easy.
Yeah. Well, otherwise, you just got to. Was it Lebedev who had that fucking horrible eye? I mean, that's a pretty good costume if you can mimic that, wouldn't you? And Enzo Maccarinelli had a couple of bad, busted, swollen eyes as well, which are a mess. But why the fuck are they posting stuff like that? Who's the scariest boxer of all time? I mean, fucking look at Hopkins on there. He looks one of the most placid characters you meet. Fucking hell, they're fucked. They're absolutely fucked. And we'll get on to them about some other thing that they were putting out as well. That Phillips.
Well, here talking of scary, this guy's pretty scary, and the old Rick Glazer.
He kicked off at this though, because it's not true. It's just somebody quote. I think it was a pro boxer who tweeted this picture and said, "How the fuck has this guy got the hill?" And Rick Glazer replied to it saying, like, "This is completely false. Hope you're well." Not factoring in that the box was like not for getting a job with BLK.
Oh, he's a character, isn't he? Tyson Fury going in against True Geordie last week after he was given a particular line of questioning Andy. The mask is slipping.
I didn't watch it, mate, because I've made a decision with myself. I wanted to actually. I'm not going to listen to Tyson Fury in the build up to this Chisora fight, mate, because he's just going to talk bollocks about it, and I just want to leave it. But I can't add anything because I didn't really listen to it apart from other people's comments. What happened again? Was the guy not get?
I think he asked him about the Chisora fight, basically saying it was a bit of a gimme, and Fury started calling him a dosser and a tosser and goodness knows what else, and then stormed off the call.
Well, I don't know if it's like set up or whatever and that, but considering Fury's last run of fights, you can take the White fight as well. But he's fought Deontay Wilder 3 fights, back to back to back. Then he's fought White, recognised as a top 10 contender, right? What's other options? Whatever happened with the Joshua fight, there's loads of blame to go about with that one. Usyk says he's not going to be ready. We didn't want to see Wilder again at this point. So who do you want to see? Who's the options? And I don't want to agree or disagree with Frank Warren as such because I don't want to get sued. But he's got a point when he says, you get into the list, they're all kind of hooked up. Joyce is, forget his situation at this point. So I didn't really want to listen to it as such. I just want to see the fight over and done with. It's one of these fights where he wants to fight. Is he entitled to a gimme? I think so. He's fought Wilder 3 times, for Christ's sake. He's fought White. I think it's fair enough to have him, have a rush shaker, and then fight either Usyk or, dare I say it, maybe revisit the Joshua fight. But I'm not confident.
One person who's given a gimme, Andy, against Kiko Martinez, Jordan the Thrill Gill,
former
Commonwealth featherweight champion.
Who was it that posted that? Was it Aussie? I think it was Aussie that posted that in the chat the other week there.
He's looking well there, Jordan.
See, he was looking fucking far better than he was last week anyway.
Jordan the Thrill Gill there, everybody. Isaac Warrior is kicking off at the board. British Border Control need to have a look at this new rules brain scan and boxing match at medical or separately. And no cost around about 1,300 quid when are usually 500 for 2 different appointments, BBC. MRI scan is usually only £200 when you ring and say you not boxer. Isaac is the standard for brain tests, maybe, Aussie.
Oh no! I mean, this is what I mean. Just unintentionally. You can't. It doesn't even make sense. I can't work out what he means by it. But yeah, I mean, look at the first reply. Colin Simpson. Good luck passing that, mate. And I think the next one from somebody else was, "This is the reason why brain scans were brought into boxing for you, Isaac." And he just openly mock him. He's not had a good time recently, has he? He got scammed out of 250 quid for some Newcastle tickets.
That's right.
He sent some money to some guy to buy the tickets, and then he just deleted his. No, not. But he just deleted his account and took the cash instead. And you're just thinking,
that's bad form. Yeah, that's bad.
It is bad.
It is bad form.
See his last 2 fights, though, mate. He's took a fucking hell of a lot of punishment. A hell of a lot. Of punishment.
No, he's on the Fury undercard actually.
Oh,
he's on. Is he? No, he can't be.
Yeah,
if he's not passing brain scans, he's not going to get licensed in the UK.
He'll they're not saying he's going to. They're saying he'll fail it because just look at that sentence. That's why he's just a complete idiot. There's nothing actually wrong with him. They're just saying he's basically thick. That's why.
Yerbosynuly started looking like him, I thought, the more he went on last night.
Mate, he's still in hospital, for Christ's sake. But no, mate, Jesus Christ. Good luck to him.
Good luck to him indeed. Jake Donovan, here we are, ahead of your time, Rob. Jake Donovan said to me, the most revealing part of Bud's Instagram live was his admission or claim that neither he nor Errol pay for pay-per-views, that they, quote-unquote, got the fire stick for that. Hashtag Spence Crawford. They are, Rob, the fire stick.
We all knew that the day was coming where a fire stick brought down boxing pay-per-views, and here it is, confirmed by Terrence Bud Crawford.
Spence as well, apparently.
Can I ask
Spence
you guys?
agreed that he has the fire stick as well. He's not paying for shit. He's a multimillionaire. He's like, fuck that.
He's able to write off fucking Ferraris, man, for fuck's sake. Come on.
Can I ask you guys an honest question here? If you stole a sandwich from a restaurant, would you be entitled to complain about the quality of that sandwich?
I've just been it if it was shit. I'd just one bite and spit it out if it was shit.
Would you? Honestly, would you be entitled to complain about the quality of the sandwich?
No, I just been it. I'll just throw it and walk on with my day.
Okay, I'm just wondering why you guys complain about boxing.
Because we didn't get.
I wondered where you were going with that.
Because the fights we never fucking get. That's why. This is a prime example. These two, he's cheating the sport and robbing for the sport, wanting fucking guarantees and hedge fund managers putting money up, and we still fucking can't get it.
I think the fucking fire stick is the least of fucking Terrence Crawford's problems. After actually, BLK Prime is the company. So the guy that's put this deal together is a guy called Desmond Gums. Who's Desmond is an esteemed movie director, And Desmond's claim to fame is directing Jamaican classic. I think it's what's it called? He's known for such features as Hacienda Heights, Straight Out, Don't Blink in 2007, and a big Rude Boy is the film, starring a 2003 Jamaican classic about a young man called Julius, starring the likes of I think Ninja Man is in it, a couple of famous Jamaican artists. But anyway,
Man, who's that?
So a legendary Jamaican dancehall artist. But I'm saying that to say this, just because I like Jamaican dancehall, I don't think fucking a fella who directed some movies in 2003 and 2007 is necessarily the man to take boxing forward and make the fucking Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence fight. And I think Errol Spence maybe had some fucking reasonable doubts over where the 50 million was coming from. So look, I don't know I don't want to hear shit from either side on this. I just know that the fucking fight's not happening. And between the two of these dummies, Crawford doesn't sound great on the Instagram. He's keeps on saying, you know, I'm my own boss now. I'm my own boss. When he knows fucking he's not his own boss. He's with Al Heyman, isn't he? Like, so is that a flex? I don't know. You know, the guy's contractual situation where they keep fucking saying that you're your own boss. Well, it's not getting you any closer to the fucking fight. And BLK Prime dissolved in the UK at the end of October. So I don't know what that says. And this guy Desmond Gums is the director of that company. So I don't know what that says about the future of the BLK Prime brand. Especially they've nailed their fucking latest star to the fucking colours. Adrian the Problem Broner making a payday return on the BLK Prime format. He thanked God for a good 5 minutes for giving him an opportunity to be young, fly and flashy again. He's not going to be looking for $12 anymore, he said, thanks to his main man Desmond, who's coming into boxing at a unique time where he can really make a statement. So, you know, things are looking good for BLK Prime.
I heard contrary reports to that, and I heard Broner actually pulled out because he thought it was put on by BK Prime and then he was going to get a hamburger out of the deal. And now that's off.
Poor AB.
But AB's back in the money, man. He's with BLK Prime. They're getting these 10 million guarantees for Avanesian and fucking whoever agent. Broner hasn't even got an opponent yet, but he's getting paid, and he's going to be in attendance for the Avanesian fight because he's back fucking living that life. So I don't know, man. The fucking whole thing was an absolute shambles, but it was hilarious. I was like watching the clip, and I hadn't seen it being clipped about the fire stick, and I was watching him say it in real time, man. And I was on the deck laughing. I was just thinking about me and Oz fucking leading the charge. Me, Oz, and Bud Crawford are the fucking benchmarks. That's who you need to follow. Not that I have one. I wouldn't fucking go for one.
No,
it's all alleged.
Not at all.
My signal was contaminated.
Bit like mine.
I think that was your piss test, Rob.
Get the B sample out there. Kurt P. Matchroom's US show next week, Love vs. Spark, is on course to be the best selling Matchroom USA in their history. They've had to reconfigure the whole seating map because less than 5% of tickets have been sold. We'll post screenshots later, says Kurt P. Oh, thank you very much for the screenshots there. What else have we got here?
Get a life, Kurt B. For fucking exposing Matchroom shows selling fucking 500 tickets. Get a life. Who do you get?
Oscar de la Coco.
Here's a couple for Oscar. First of all, people going in on Oscar. He was on about exposing the truth. Idea that's coming up next. Yes. And Dante Hall says, bitter I see. Oscar says, what do you mean bitter? Don't you assholes want to see the fights happen? I guess you don't know shit about boxing, you casual fuck. And then he went on here with his with Mrs. E.T.
I'll tell you right now, I posted that to you in the WhatsApp. I'm saying to myself, there's got to be people when they're walking through the temple there. I bet you any money there's people walking past them looking at her thinking, why the fuck's he got a mannequin with him? What state of that?
I think that looks like, I thought that picture was straight out of the metaverse when I saw it. I was like, this is the future. This is the Oscar future I imagined.
Somebody saying that's Khan's wife. Oh no.
Oh, that's terrible. Joe Cordina getting in on the act as well. Look at the presenter on the right.
I've seen him as well. Aye. Eddie, what was his name? I forget his. I was going to call me Eddie Adelepo.
Eddie something.
Eddie Akinboye.
Joe Cordina looks like one of the people that was chasing down Indiana Jones in Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
Shortstop is in the background there. Short round, not fucking shortstop.
Eddie looks like he's found something there. He's like disgusted. Like he's just seen something. Like, what the fuck?
Well, the guy fucking interviewing looks like he's been goddamn possessed. Jesus fucking Christ.
It's amazing what a screenshot can do to make you look like a fucking monkey. It's brilliant. Oh, they date everybody. It's fucking brutal.
Joe, burn him. Wake him up. Burn him. He'll come too.
Talking of screenshots, the zone bots have been hard this week. First of all, it all starts now. Dixon Cider, hashtag Connor Ben is a drugs cheat. Hello, Dixon Cider, hashtag Connor Ben is a drugs cheat. We would be happy to help you. Please send us a DM at Zone Boxing Help. We look forward to your message. And that was preceded, I believe, Andy, by Craig for Patriots. Hello, proud to be British. Hashtag defund the BBC. Hashtag stop the dinghies. We'd be happy to help you.
Honestly, they're absolutely fucked. What are they doing? You can't. In this day and age, you don't need to be having like automated responses which do stuff like, you know, we've seen it for years from where it just gets exposed. And I mean, fucking. Hashtag stop the dinghies.
I'm surprised I've not said fucking bring the Navy in. Fucking shoot them in the water. Fuck's sake.
We'll respond to your query as soon as possible.
Please look for amazing that someone got something like that, you know, fucking Jesus.
Isn't it amazing that someone makes some money to do that for them?
A global platform is hashtagging stop the dinghies and hashtag defund the BBC.
All we need was Jimmy Savile.
The thing is, though, do you know what? If I'd have been quick enough, you could have just changed your name to anything, couldn't you? You could have just replied and said, you know, like whatever, any sort of name. Yeah, you could have literally have your name as like hashtag Hearn is a wanker, and then go like, hello, hashtag Hearn's a wanker. We'd be happy to help you. You know, 'cause that's all it is. It's just an immediate response.
Hashtag when's Eddie Hearn going to answer some real questions?
Come on, Porky's Corner.
What is this stop the dinghies reference? Are there like fucking immigrants showing up in dinghies?
Yeah, Matt.
What the fuck are they getting involved in that for? Jesus God.
Don't talk about that then. Fuck's sake, man. There's chaos kicking off.
Oh, dear. Anyway.
Fucking hell.
There's one for you, Andy, as well. The Wizard of Oz. I'm not 12 years of age. I'm not going to fight Eddie Hearn. He always offers everyone for a fight, doesn't he, Eddie?
Oh, mate. It's been good content this week, obviously. Fucking Eddie's now put the racist tag on Simon Jordan. I don't know if there's going to be kind of quelling the fires here a little bit.
Well, I've seen that, you know, about he got Ramler Ali on the thing, didn't he? Because he called basically the employees at Matchroom like a bunch of refugees off the Wizard of Oz. And she's jumped up now and said she was offended by the term refugee and offered Simon Jordan the opportunity to go volunteering with her and stuff like that. Typical deflection tactic.
Well, like, Oz is not a real fucking place. He's a real person because he's on the show with us. But like the Oz land is a mythical land, isn't it? A fictional character. So Eddie is fucking very upset about this and how his staff are being treated as well. And he wants TalkSport to retract those comments.
Yeah,
so, I'd love it if Norman called his bluff and said, right, we'll get in the ring now, because Hearn would fucking soil himself at the thought of that. He'd get tubby frightened.
He wouldn't. He's got the ego, he wouldn't fucking be that. Saying that, look at that neck. Look at that neck, though. It's like fucking Klitschko being up with that uppercut of fucking Joshua, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's all he's got to do, land an uppercut fucking Simon Jordan.
He put his mate on there with Frank Smith.
Yeah, I was going to say, mate, I reckon Eddie's packing glass. I reckon Simon Jordan, big right hand on that jaw, and it'd be curtains for him.
See, when I see that picture, Steve, all I can think about is we were like literally like fucking feet away that Scott Quinn Carol Frampton way in, and fucking he's trying to calm him doing that. And he's like, "Fuck you lanky prick." Carol Frampton.
Oh yeah,
was fucking brilliant. That's how you deliver it.
He's lost timber, hasn't he, Eddie? He looks like he's an extra to come dancing.
He's looking.
He's lost a hell of a lot of weight actually.
Stress weight.
Yeah, he's
on the BBC.
It's almost as if he's been under pressure constantly.
He's been doing a lot of flying, a lot of travel miles, so that takes you out, you know. Fucking hell.
Oh, right. What are we on to now? Shit.
Get a life. What's on Bellew of the week?
Right, Andy. Any nominations from you other than the ones you have already sent me?
Sonny Bill Williams got knocked out off an MMA guy. Actually, just to kind of like Matty have a wee laugh at that one. Zurdo as well. He said post fight. He said he thought he'd done enough to win the fight. So
Oh yes, that I said before to you, Andy, that StreamYard must be cutting some of these. That was on it, and one of Shannon Courtney being in a magazine as well that disappeared. So yes, he said afterwards that he thought he did enough to win the fight. I don't know where that's gone. You're quite right, you.
I didn't remember him actually. But I don't know if you guys do old heavyweight Goran Gogic. Anybody?
Oh, the drug dealer guy.
The drug dealer, aye. So yeah, 43-year-old. He was charged by the U.S. Department of Justice for trafficking 22 tons of cocaine. The seized have a street value of over $1 billion. He was arrested on Sunday night at Miami International Airport while trying to board a flight to Zurich. So I don't remember him fighting much actually back in the day, but he's looking at, what is he looking at? 10 years in prison.
Sounds like you wouldn't want to give out a lot of his work on tick, you know what I mean? Want to be Owen Gorgo Gagic, the fucking heavyweight drug dealer, some bread, I wouldn't like it.
The charges stem all the way back to 2019, 22 tons of cocaine, 3 commercial cargo ships seized in Philadelphia's Parker Avenue Marine Terminal. Yeah, so he's probably just a small fish in a very big syndicate, basically. So he's looking at least 10 years.
Oh, hang on.
Who's
text
dead?
Messages coming through here, Andy. Mrs. Wellington says, "Wrap it up, lads." That's what she just texted me.
Fuck's sake.
Get to your bed, Steve. I'll just pass it on then, mate. On you go.
Matty, anything from you?
In the name of for the good name of Mrs. Wellings, I will give nothing this week. Help her out there.
Always will be the same.
Anything from you, Ozzy?
Well, we've got to nominate the main man himself, haven't we? Chinese John. for his latest escapades on social, without a doubt. He'll be getting a nomination every week, simply for releasing the video from where he broke that rattan chair, and he didn't even move. Yeah, the wicked. That is some effort. That, by the way.
Never spilt a drop, mate. Never spilt a fucking drop either. That's a legend.
Absolutely mad. But yeah, without a doubt, Big John.
Big John. Bad John.
Big John Fisher. Rob, any from you, please?
No, I thought the whole fucking Terence Crawford and fucking Aerospace was fucking brilliant. Like, absolutely fucking brilliant. Like, the whole fucking reason the fight can't get made is a fucking fire stick. So that was good. Adrian Broner's returned to be just this whole guy, Desmond, what's his name? Desmond Gums. I want to see how this plays out. With Desmond Gums is now at the helm. So boxing hasn't been enough of a shit show. Now we have the fella who directed Rude Boy, the movie, in the mix, thrown around 50 millions like they're nothing as well. I think one of the pro Heyman guys on Twitter went and found the registered office address of the headquarters in Belize, and it's just some fucking supermarket. It's not like a fucking real office or nothing. Like, so I don't know. Like the video footage, like there's just people walking around and all. Like, there doesn't seem to be much business going on in there. So I don't know what's going on, but yeah, I thought that was good. And obviously the fucking Rich Planet and Anthony Crawler fucking clip. We have to see that again before we wrap it up, lads.
Oh yes. Right, quick recap then. We had the Juggernauts for the Elkins fight night. We had Conor Benn lying again. We had Frank Smith and Eddie. We had the scariest boxers of all time. We had the scariest promoter of all time. We had True Geordie. We had Jordan Gill. We had Isaac Warrior Lowe. We had the Fire Stick, as Rob mentioned. We had Matchroom selling out. We had Oscar and Oscar again. And Joe Cordina. We had Simon Jordan. And we had Dixon Cider, Conor Benn is drugs cheat, and hello, proud to be British, #D from the BBC. Stop the dinghies. Who are you going for, Andy?
Oh, mate, it's between that and your fucking classic there, Anthony D. Hall and Anthony Crawler, mate. I'm going to go...
What's that noise? What are you, Matty?
Right, mate. I'm gonna go D Hall, mate. I'm gonna go D Hall.
One for Richard D. Hall. Matty, who are you going for?
I'll go with the DAZN auto response. I was just trying to put the music on to move people along, just like in the Grammys and the Oscars.
Well, I can hear footsteps on the stairs now, Ozzy. Come on, quick, who are you going for?
Cut off the music. You're going to get us thrown off YouTube, you fucking nut.
DAZN as well. Yeah, I'm going for DAZN as well. I think he'd be all right because it comes with StreamYard, Rob. But who are you going for? I'm going for the DAZN.
Richard D. Hall and Crawler for the fucking, because I want to see it again.
Nobody gives a fuck about the licensing of Dance Pop and Feeding the Ducks.
Get over it. That was 2 minutes ago. You're still bringing up old shit. Get over it. Get over it.
Congratulations for episode 499 to the Stop the Dinghies, defund the BBC, to the DAZN Autobot, and the Richard D. Hall. Congratulations to you for winning the Bellew of the Week. I will play it again, but just before we do so, thanks to the Super Chatters, David Palmer, Joe Burns, and Steve Anderson, who've all thrown in money tonight. Thank you to our new Patreon subs as well, Luke, who has returned to the fold alongside Boren, BKK, Sakon, and shout out to James Mahoney for sticking with us as well. Just before I hand back to you, Matty, we'll listen to Richard one more time before deleting.
Today, I am delighted to be joined by former lightweight world champion Anthony Crawler. How are you?
Before we start, I would like to point out why I have made yet another Madeleine McCann film. It is to expose the mainstream media and show to the widest possible audience that their purpose is not to find out facts, investigate stories, then truthfully report them. The mainstream media are used on a daily basis across all publications by an elite few for a range of nefarious purposes. Mainstream media publications are no more than information prostitutes who serve those with enough money or power to help them with their disgusting agendas.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
He sounds
absolutely
paranoid
brilliant.
to fuck, man. He's been smoking 95% THC fucking vape pens. That's what he's been doing.
I want to see the fucking... I want to see the DAZN pay-per-view fight between Richard D. Hall and Neil Sanders. Steve, what do you reckon?
Sanders would hit him low, wouldn't he, the dirty rat?
Yeah, he's a fucking... I can't believe he fucking turned on Richard D. Hall. Who does he think he is? Anyway, episode 500 next week, guys. It's going to be better than this one.
I'm not be here for it. We're the best boys.
No, Andy.
Come on and make it, will you? Come on and jump on. Get the phone with you. Come on, jump on.
So, but it'll be a good time. We have a special long interview with someone who has been a constant mention of the pod for at least the last year here, and we'll have a good show for you guys next week. We've had fun here. I'd like to thank all those who gave into the Super Chat and also all of our Patreon subscribers. Here at Boxing Asylum, we think our subs are the tops. All right, then. So, for Steve, Andy, Rob, and Oz, I am Matty. We'll see you guys for episode 500 next week.
We'll never forget.
I think that's good happening.
Go to Adam move!
We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumpo fucking Steltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7 year ain't. I will fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love Boxing Asylum.